It is 6 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Friday, August 30th. It's the end of August. It's the end of the week. Happy Friday to all y'all out there. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. It's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother morning of engaging discussions, critical analysis, most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So get the coffee brew in Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Billy, we got a lot to cover today. Everything from the Harris and Walz interview, which droopy dog is what was one of the comments I heard about. Really? Kamala Harris. She seemed very, very tired. Not a lot of energy. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you thought about that interview. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Text us on the 710 KNUS app. We got a tax deal coming from the Colorado State Capitol, and one of the persons that worked to author that property tax deal, Kristi Burton Brown, is going to join us in the 7 o'clock hour. But wait up, hold a minute. Not all Republicans agreed with it. In fact, we got one, Mark Baisley, who disagrees with that property tax package. He's going to join us just after Kristi Burton Brown around 7:30. And then some of the greatest people I know, John and Maria Castillo, the parents of famed hero and martyr Kendrick Castillo, are going to join us in the 8 o'clock hour to talk about the renaming of Lucin Boulevard to Kendrick Castillo Boulevard.
That's wonderful.
Which is just fantastic. And then good friend of the show, Jeremy Levy, is going to join us in the 9 o'clock hour. So it's jam-packed. We're going to cover Kamala's big interview, which is just so crazy. She wants to be the president of the United States, and we have to wait for these one-offs that happen every 38 days. You want to take on the big, real challenges of this world? You can't sit in front of the press. Give me a break. We're going to get into that in just a second, right after the news and commentary with Blake Colson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, TGIF, Jeff and Billy. 56 and clear, expecting a high of 88 today. The 710 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
The steps that you're talking about now, why haven't you done them already?
Well, first of all, we had to recover as an economy, and we have done that. I'm very proud of the work that we have done that has brought inflation down to less than 3%.
She has failed her way upward. Absolutely incredible. An exclusive joint interview with Kamala Khan and Tim Walz on Thursday on CNN. What was that? Dana Bash, softball after softball after softball.
New way forward and turn the page on the last decade of what I believe has been contrary to where the spirit of our country really lies.
But the last decade, of course, the last 3.5 years has been part of your administration.
I'm talking about an era.
Yes, an era that started in her mind in 2015 when people started talking about making America great again. All right, here's the fracking issue and question.
When you were in Congress, you supported the Green New Deal. And in 2019, you said, quote, "There is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking." Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, as president, I will not ban fracking.
All right, how about the border stuff?
During the Biden-Harris administration, there were record numbers of illegal border crossings. Why did the Biden-Harris administration wait 3.5 years to implement sweeping asylum restrictions?
A bill was crafted, which we supported, which I support, and Donald Trump got word of this bill that would have contributed to securing our border, and because he believes that it would not have helped him politically, he told his folks in Congress, don't put it forward. He killed the bill.
Yeah, it didn't have anything to do with all the money going to the Middle East, to one country that shall, Ukraine, that's right. Timmy Walz, her big daddy to her right.
You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom.
that has a lot to do with it. All right. So that thing was a joke. Very interesting, though, to watch it as she kind of speaks to the media. A very easy interview for her and Timmy Walz. All right, Denver Mayor Mike Johnston and Aurora Mayor Kaufman on Channel 9 Thursday talking about the TDA Venezuelan gang problem in Aurora and possibly Denver, but at this point, speculation in Denver. Kaufman says there's some hysteria about the story because it's gone nationwide and worldwide.
It's overwhelming our 911 system, our emergency call center, and so it's actually hurting our ability to respond to crime. And so I would hope people would not do that. I think we're in some sort of environment of hysteria right now over this. It's a real issue. It's being dealt with. It's isolated.
Hopefully they are dealing with it. Former President Trump is calling his campaign pro-family. During a rally in Michigan Thursday, Trump said he will require health insurance companies or the government to cover in vitro fertilization costs if elected. He also said that parents would be able to deduct major newborn expenses from their taxes. The Secret Service getting some assistance in providing security for presidential campaigns. The Department of Defense said in a news release on Thursday it will provide increased support at various locations across the U.S. This comes after a request by the Department of Homeland Security. Really? Alejandro Mayorkas just getting to this. A Dallas police officer is dead. 2 others wounded after a Thursday night shooting. It's not exactly clear what led to the initial shots fired, but authorities who responded to an officer in distress call found an officer shot in his marked patrol vehicle. They also located a suspect who fled the scene, but was eventually killed in an exchange of gunfire. TSA expects to check a record-breaking 17 million travelers over the upcoming Labor Day weekend. San Francisco, New York, Boston, Denver, and Chicago among the top U.S. destinations. Domestic travel is up 9% from last year. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills, locally owned and operated since 1954, online at lairfireplacepatio.com. CU Buffs come back to beat North Dakota State last night, 31-26 at Folsom Field to kick off the new season. Travis Hunter was incredible.
They just get it off into the end zone. Contact. What a catch! A miraculous, implausible, impossible catch by 12.
Shadur Sanders was also pretty amazing. That's a really good football program. Yes, FCS. But when you look at it, I would call North Dakota State. They could fall into the top 35 of FBS teams. They can beat almost anyone on any given day. So a big win for CU at Folsom Field. 51 in Golden, 54 in Centennial, 56 in Denver. TGIF. Jeff and Bill continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
High pressure and dry air will dominate the weather here along the Front Range and across all of Colorado for what will be a really nice stretch of weather through Labor Day Monday. Highs will be upper 80s today. Highs will be middle to upper 80s all the way through Labor Day Monday. Nights will be in the 50s to near 60 degrees. Any chance of showers and thunderstorms through the weekend will be low. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Annuities can provide guaranteed payments, giving you a peace of mind. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, we've got a lot to talk about today on the Jeff and Bill Show. What'd you think of Kamala Harris's performance yesterday with Donna? Sorry, I don't know. What's your name? How do you pronounce? Is it Donna Bash?
It's Dana.
Dana Bash.
Short A's. Dana Bash.
Dana Bash.
Yeah.
They even struggled during the interview.
Oh, yeah,
during
absolutely.
That one. Yeah. All right. So here was the first question out the gate about what Kamala Harris is going to do day one.
If you are elected, what would you do on day one in the White House?
Well, there are a number of things. I will tell you, first and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class. When I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people, I think that
what are you going to do?
People are ready for a new way forward.
Day one. Day one.
In a way that generations of Americans have been fueled by hope and by optimism.
What?
I think, sadly, in the last decade, we have had in the former president someone who has really been pushing an agenda and an environment that is about diminishing the character and the strength of who we are as Americans.
Okay, Dana,
really
bring her back.
Dividing our nation. And
come on, what are we doing day one, Kamala?
Page on that.
So what would you do day one?
Day one, it's going to be about, one, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy.
Okay,
I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard.
All right. What?
Which include what we're going to do to bring down the cost of everyday goods, what we're going to do to invest in America's small businesses, what we're going to do to invest in families. For example, extending the child tax credit to $6,000 for families for the first year of their child's life, to help them buy a car seat, to help them buy baby clothes, a crib. There's the work that we're going to do that is about investing in the American family around affordable housing, a big issue in our country right now. So there are a number of things on day one.
There's a number of things on day one. I heard a child tax credit. But that was a lot of meandering, and that gives you a sense of what the interview was like. So, one, I was struck by low energy. She seemed really tired. And then two, just kind of meandering, non-specific answers to the point where Dana Bash had to bring her back. Come on, focus now. Get back. Day one. What is your presidency going to look like? What came across to me is Kamala Harris is not ready for prime time.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah, give me your sense, Bill.
The thing for me is I don't understand the hang up about what we're doing day one. Should she have said I'm going to be a dictator, but only on day one? Would that have been better? Was that a better response?
How about some actual policies?
But what can she do day one with actual policies? The only thing she can issue is executive orders.
Joe Biden had a lot on day one when he took down a lot of Donald Trump's
So you thought that was good of Joe Biden to have all these things on day one.
But at least he had some ideas of what he was going to do day one. There's no ideas
but
day one.
But he did it through executive orders. And I thought that was a bad... I know, hang on a sec. I thought that was a bad thing. I heard from the GOP at the time that he's being this unitary executive. He's overreaching. He's not governing. He's only ruling based on issuing executive orders. But now... we're mad because we don't have executive orders that Kamala Harris is going to issue on day one. I just need you guys to make up your mind.
No, and Kamala had no plan there.
She has
no plan.
Well, no, she outlined stuff she wanted to do.
She's going to be the president of the United States. She doesn't have to have a plan.
She did have a plan. She talked about various things that she outlined. But the issue is you're hung up on day one. She's got over 1,400 days, whoever wins that job. 1,400. And it's the very first day in which they have no legislative power. They can't sign a single thing that day. So the only thing that is available is to become a dictator. And that's what you're mad about. That's what I hear a lot of Republicans about.
I'm frustrated.
She's not a dictator.
She doesn't have an answer on what she's going to do.
She did. She had an answer about what she's going to do.
She had to get brought back to it. Come on, Donna.
You're looking for one day.
Donna brought her back because she just started meandering, taking a long journey around the pond, talking about Orange Man bad and all this. She got to one specific policy idea.
Before we start criticizing Kamala Harris based on meandering answers, we need to remind ourselves who her opponent is.
No, we don't.
Yes, the king of meandering answers.
Well, we're going to talk about that guy.
No. The issue is if the criticism of Kamala is a meandering answer, you can't then say I'm supporting Trump because that's what he does. His stock, lock, and barrel are meandering answers. That's just what
Billy,
he does.
Your response to the very clear audio that she has no idea what she's going to do the first day of the president is, well, the other guy meanders too.
No, your criticism was she meanders. And my thing is they both meander. So what? You can't sit there and say, I'm so mad that she meanders when the other guy does it too. They both do it. So that's it. It's a push. Now, on the other side.
Bill, have you visited Kamala Harris's website?
No.
Okay.
No.
She doesn't have a single policy plan listed.
Okay.
She wants to be the president of the United States in 68 days. She wants to be elected the president of the United States. She doesn't have one policy listed on her website.
Yep. Okay. And it totally sucks that you guys nominated a guy that's not a policy wonk. If you want a policy wonk, you could.
Why are you jumping to the other guy?
No, this is the issue.
Fairly critique Kamala.
No. The thing is, this is the idea. The GOP is trying to make this now a policy race, but you didn't elect a policy person to be your standard bearer. Trump can't carry a policy message going forward. So complaining about the fact that Kamala doesn't have policy, you have a guy that can't do policy. So you can't sit there and say, no policy, but the other guy has very limited, if anything, policies, and then they switch. He was against the IFE, and then now he's for the IFE. He was against women's reproductive rights, now he's for women's reproductive rights. That's just who you have. And the idea of hanging it on day one, if she wins 1,400 days, and she has very limited, if any, power outside of executive orders on day one. And if you wish her to be a dictator and you want her to outline the dictatorial steps she's take, fine. That's a criticism. Okay, fine. So on day one, she's not going to take executive actions. I fail to see how that is a negative.
It is crystal clear. You're getting hung up on the idea that it's just day one.
No, you are. No. You said she had no plan on day one.
I am showing you.
I'm using your words.
No.
Yes, I am.
I am showing you evidence after evidence that she has no policy plans.
Wait, hang on.
So you're going, okay, but just day one, but she's got 1,400 other days. Bill, go to her website. There's nothing there.
Okay.
There's nothing there. She doesn't have a plan for 1,400 days.
Let's go back to the audio and see if she outlines any sort of a policy there. Let's go back. Let's just see.
What would you do on day one in the White House?
Well, there are a number of things. I will tell you first and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class.
So no policy.
When I look at
didn't say it was
the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people, I think that people are ready for a new way forward, in a way that generations of Americans have been fueled by hope and by optimism. I think, sadly, in the last decade, we have had in the former president someone who has really been pushing an agenda and in an environment that is about diminishing the character and the strength of who we are as Americans, really dividing our nation. And I think people are ready to turn the page on that.
So what would you do day one?
Day one, it's going to be about, one, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy. I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard.
That seems like policy.
Which include what we're going to do to bring down
such as
the cost of everyday goods, what we're going to do to invest in America's small businesses, what we're going to do to invest in families, for example, extending the child tax credit to $6,000 for families for the first year of their child's life to help them
only one I've heard
buy
so
a
far.
car seat, to help them buy baby clothes, a crib. There's the work that we're going to do that is about investing in the American family around affordable housing, a big issue in our country right now. So there are a number of things on day one.
Yeah, I mean, she's done a policy wonk. She didn't do that there, but she did outline there are things that we're going to do.
Wonk. There is nothing there. There's one specific policy I heard.
The problem is she doesn't have to be
tax credit.
But based on what's happening in this election, she doesn't have to be. Doesn't have to be a policy wonk and doesn't go into the details. Doesn't have to be based on who she's running against. Doesn't that scare you? No, it shouldn't.
We're about to elect somebody that 68 days out has nothing on their website, and when asked what they're going to do day one as the president of the United States, does Orange Man bad?
She did do it. She did outline an economic policy recently, and you can discuss that, etc. But that's the issue but you have a candidate that also can't do policy. So you can't sit there and throw rocks and say she's not doing any policy.
Democrats have gone, whoa, the 900-page document called, what is it? Road 2020, Plan 2025?
Project 2025.
Project 2025. Yeah. There's the word. here's a detailed plan of how scary things are going to be if conservatives get into office. You have one side that's like, no, this is everything that we want to do as conservatives. This is how it's going to impact you. So much so that the Democrats can bring out a big prop at the DNC, start to read page from it, about all the policy that the conservatives want to implement. She can't answer a basic question about what she's going to do on day one. She has nothing on her website. This is an empty campaign.
But does it matter that Donald Trump has disavowed Project 2025, the thing that you just leaned into and said was policy? He said it's not his policy.
Right. Not everything's going to be his policy.
He said he's
but
not
conservatives have a sense of what they want to deliver in 2025.
And
There's
so do
nothing
Democrats,
here.
but that's fine.
Where?
I don't know. I didn't go back and look.
It's because there is nothing. That's the point.
Then why do you keep complaining about things like banning fracking, Green New Deal, etc. if they have no plans? Then you don't complain about anything. The complaints should be about she has no plan. But we've got audio here later that we're going to be flip-flopping on fracking and other stuff.
Right.
That's obviously plan, policy, stuff like that. Yes. Yeah, that's fine. But again, Donald Trump has disavowed Project 2025. He said that's not what he's going to do. Doesn't know anything about it. So, again, the issue is Donald Trump is not a policy guy. And turning around and saying, well, the opponent's not doing policy. Okay. And your point is?
Not even anything.
Your point is?
Nothing.
I don't think she has to.
She's going to be an empty president.
Yeah, she outlined some stuff there that talked about what she wanted to do.
All right, give us a call. Where do you follow along?
That is
303-696-1971. 303-696-1971. What did you hear last night with Kamala Harris? Did you think her energy was up? Did you?
Oh, for me? I they're asking me. Sorry.
Did you think she was low energy?
I don't think she was low energy. I thought that the presentation was very muted. I didn't think that she was necessarily energetic, but the thing that she didn't look like, well, I'll tell you this, the thing that she did look like was an average presidential candidate. She reminded me of many other interviews that I've seen over my lifetime with an average presidential candidate. And that's where I think the GOP is missing this. She presented herself, and this is what's making you a little bit mad. She presented herself as generic Democrat. That's what she did. Now, whether or not she is or not, that's how she presented herself in that interview. And as that presentation, it was effective. And I understand the idea of not looking at individual decent, the minutia inside of policies. But as long as she says things that resonate with the audience, being a generic Democrat that they like, oh, I like the child tax credit. Oh, they're going to get opportunities for me to be able to buy a house. They're not that concerned about, well, how much, where they're not running through the details at that point. She presented herself as generic Democrat. And unfortunately, that may be just enough to win this race. That may be all she has to do.
I don't think you're wrong about that, but it's a little scary. She came across very low energy, no plan, meandered a lot. And I'm sitting there going, I can't believe this person wants to be the leader of the free world. All right, we'll get to phone calls. They're starting to come in. Phone lines open 303-696-1971. Text us at 720-892-6757. Look, if you're considering selling your home, go with a team that's not only going to give you top level service, but will also help you earn more from the sale of your home than any other agent. Gay Ribble is proven to get more for her sellers because they have ready buyers looking for a home in your area. They don't just make this claim. They can sit down and actually show you a list of over 14,700 buyers. This gives you an immediate advantage. Sure, you can hire any agent to sell your home, but isn't it all about how much you're going to put in your pocket after closing? The Empower Home team specializes in making sure you make the most amount of money. They will sell your home at your price, or Gay will buy it. Guaranteed. Reach out to my friends and realtors, Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team of Keller Williams. Call 833-301-SOLD. That's 833-301-SOLD, or go to gayhasthebuyers.com. That's GAYE hasthebuyers.com. I think Kamala Harris has no plans on what her presidency is going to look like. She flip-flops back and forth. Nothing listed on her website. No clear answer on what she's going to do day one. Billy making the argument that she was generic Democrat enough to be able to communicate to voters, and that may be enough to win. Give us a call. Tell us your thoughts. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're talking review of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz's performance yesterday. CNN debate with Danabash. Did I get that right? Danabash on CNN. How did she do? We're going to get to the calls here in just a second. This was a little shocking to me. Kamala Harris asked, You lied to the American people about how well Joe Biden's doing. Do you regret it?
Vice President Harris, you were a very staunch defender of President Biden's capacity to serve another 4 years. Right after the debate, you insisted that President Biden is extraordinarily strong. Given where we are now, do you have any regrets about what you told the American people?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Extraordinarily strong. I think that's a real problem for her because people do not like politicians that just lie so openly about that. I mean, everybody saw that Joe Biden's not extraordinarily strong to fit 4 more years. And then to have no regrets on that. Oh, my goodness. All right, let's go to the phone line. Spencer, Castle Rock, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Spencer.
Hey, guys. Good morning. Can you hear me all right?
Got you loud and clear, sir.
Yeah, just fine.
So am I taking crazy pills? Do we not remember the last 3.5 years? Did we all just forget it? I mean, I'm trying to understand it. When she says we need to turn the page or find a new path forward, from what? What is she referring to? So I assume it's the last 3.5 years to which she was in lockstep with Joe Biden on.
And, you know, one of the interesting things, Spencer, last night was no distance between her and Biden. Not at one time did she say, I'm going to do this differently than Joe Biden. And to your point, I don't think a lot of people look back on the last 3.5 years and go, gosh, things are great.
Do we all understand that the Biden bucks that got handed out in the beginning of his term and his policy shifts and his war on oil and his new green agenda that she was right there with him on led to the economic strife that we're dealing with right now? And now she's offering solutions of relief to the problems they created. And it was one solution of relief. I mean, this woman, if you look up beating around the bush in the dictionary, you will see a picture of Kamala Harris.
Now, Spencer, help me something here. Spencer, help me something here. How did the Biden administration policies do the same thing economically to Germany, England, Spain, Italy, most of Western Europe, and the Pacific Asian Rim? What were the policies there? Because they experienced the same inflation, same supply chain crunch, and actually Biden's administration has produced more oil than was being produced on the Trump administration.
Our economies are intertwined.
I'm wondering.
Are intertwined.
Okay, so how come the stuff that Germany doesn't help us out then, the stuff Italy does? Why then, based on the Biden administration, do we have the lowest inflation of the Western world right now, since all these policies are intertwined? How's that happening? Do we get
inflation of the Western world, but higher than when Trump left office?
But that was
when Trump left office, was at 1.6%.
When Trump left office, we were in the middle of a COVID. So you'd have to go back at least a year beforehand to look at economic conditions. But again, if you're going to give the Biden administration blame for inflation rising, then you also have to give them credit for it going back to under 3%. You got to do one or the other, my friend. So if you're going to criticize them for it, you also have to give them credit for bringing it down.
If inflation drops to lower than it was at its highest point during their term, yes, they deserve credit for that. But it is still higher than when Trump left office.
But Trump left.
Do they not deserve blame for that?
Trump left office. We had $1.87 gallon of gas, but that's because no one was driving. We don't want to go back to that, and that tanks the oil and gas industry. So the idea of we need to go back to there, you're saying you want to go back to the conditions that we had under the pandemic. I question your sanity at that point. That is silly. Honestly, I mean, you're a friend. I like you calling here, but you're saying you want to go back to the conditions we had, the economic conditions we had under the pandemic. That's what your goal is.
I want to go back to more affordable groceries. I want to go back to more affordable gas. I want to go more affordable lifestyle.
More affordable. The gallon of gas is roughly a little bit higher than it was under Trump. There's nothing necessarily negative about that. And we can talk about the inputs. We can also talk, Billy, Spencer, about cost of inputs, because we know even at Procter & Gamble, they have admitted in their most recent earnings call that the input cost for diapers has dropped more than 25%, but they're not lowering prices. How is Biden responsible for that?
Are you claiming that the economy is great today?
Depends on how you're defining great.
So, no, just answer the question. Are you claiming that this is a great economy
here's
and
the thing,
American
Spencer,
populace is happy with it?
Spencer, now, see, you've added something on there, and that's the issue. See, the issue is that you're using a loaded term. You're using the word great. You define great one thing. I may define great another thing. Here's what I will say. The fundamentals of the economy are strong right now. Any financial planner out there worth their salt will tell you exactly that the fundamentals of the economy are fine. GDP is fine.
$38 trillion in debt.
Yeah, but we shouldn't. We don't really want to get into the debt conversation if you want to talk about policies between
Do you
the
really think
economic
the
plan
fundamentals of the economy are fine?
But it's not.
I look at that
my
debt
opinion.
and I'm
You know
like,
how much credit card debt is right now in America, Billy?
Again,
right.
Wait, hang on a sec. This is not my opinion. These are economists. These are financial
you're
planners.
spouting it like it's your opinion. Do
That's
you
what
know
they
how
say.
much
They say
credit
the
card debt
fundamentals.
exists in the United States right now?
No, I don't off the top of my head.
It's record level.
Okay.
I think $1 trillion is what they said.
Okay.
In American credit card debt right now in America, $1 trillion.
Yeah, and we have more Americans and we have more money in circulation. Yes, I don't think that's a good thing. But again, what's Trump's policy that's going to lower that? I mean, if you're going to bring that out, what's he going to do?
Well,
what's he going to do?
I don't think we have time to get into that.
No,
but
just give me one thing. Give me one thing.
In office.
No, what's he going to do about it?
What is he going to do about credit card debt or the economy?
The credit card debt. Why don't we let's go there. Credit card debt. What's he going to do?
Well, I think the first thing he's going to do is he's going to fix the fuel issue in America.
What fuel issue?
Everything in America is driven by the price of fuel.
What's the fuel issue? Spencer,
matter.
what's the fuel issue you're talking about?
What's the fuel issue?
Yes.
Okay, well, we don't have enough processing plants to turn oil into fuel.
But we are producing more. We are producing more fuel and exporting more right now under Biden than we did under Trump.
So
you'd like to go
more
backwards.
oil here in the United States.
So you'd like to go backwards.
Probably be a net exporter.
We are a net exporter.
I want to go backwards.
Yeah. Now, Spencer, we're producing less oil under Trump, and we are a larger net exporter of oil right now than we were under Trump.
When did we become a larger net exporter? In the last 3 months? The last 4 months?
No, it was. No, Spencer, I've never been.
That's not what it was.
No, Spencer, I've never said that it started with Biden. It started, we grew to 1% net export under Trump. It's now over 3%. Okay. That's where we are.
I love it when we celebrate Joe Biden for acting like a conservative. All right, Spencer, we're just out of time. I got to get to Tony. I want to get through some of these phone calls. Great call. I appreciate it. Tony Littleton, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Tony. What did you think of last night?
I think she did what she needed to do. Now, it's not Trump. I mean, I know on day one, he's going to solve Israel and he's going to solve Ukraine and he's going to solve inflation and he's going to bring down the interest rates, which, by the way, are an opposite, right? I mean, and that's kind of important and it relates to this conversation. The Fed, let's remember, the Fed has high interest rates. Why? Because the economy is so strong. That's why they do that. So you can't lower interest rates.
The economy is so strong
because the economy. Do you know what the economy grew in the last quarter?
No, please.
Do you know that?
Tell me.
3%. There's 3%. That's one of the highest in all of the G20. So this just a quarter that just ended a week ago. The economy, Billy was right. The fundamentals of the economy are pretty good. And the reasons we have inflation go back to, and also right, it's global inflation. So if it's Biden's global inflation, you have to start and say, then how did Trump's global pandemic contribute to that problem?
Trump's global pandemic. That's great.
Well, if it's Biden,
so first of all,
just be intellectually honest, Jeff.
Hold on. I am going to be intellectually honest. What was the single greatest cause of the inflation we experienced under Joe Biden's presidency?
The first and biggest was the clamping down of the supply chain. Bottom line.
Nope.
Second,
that's not what MIT says.
Ukraine.
That's
the war in Ukraine.
No. Do you know what MIT says?
Please.
Sloan School of Business at MIT, over 40% they attribute of our inflationary problem that we dealt with primarily in 2022 had to do with government spending.
And government spending absolutely contributed to the issue. There's no doubt. But the alternative to not, and remember, that also started under Trump. That started under Trump. The economists genuinely agree, like in 2008, like in 1929, that when you have a severe slowdown, don't go into austerity, go the opposite direction, which is exactly what happened in 08 and is exactly what happened during the pandemic, and is exactly what they didn't do right in 29. And they've learned from that. So yes, they erred on the side of don't choke this economy off like the UK did, and now they're really struggling.
So Tony, let's go back to yesterday's interview.
Yes.
What did Kamala Harris do?
All right. Let me say that. Let's go back to that specifically. She's doing the right thing. She's told America loud and clear, I am absolutely behind Ukraine. I am absolutely going to defend Israel's right to protect themselves, but I also know we have to solve that problem politically. She said straight up, the middle class needs breaks, and we're going to have to get that by getting part of that tax break that corporations and the wealthy got back. Take that back to 28%, not 21%. She's been clear about what she believes in, and specific policy. Well, it's we're going to tax this at this rate and this at this rate. No, that she hasn't worked through that detail, but that detail is not important.
She's been the vice president of the United States for 3.5 years, and all I even got from you, Tony, was this kind of sense of goodwill. I want to do this. I want to help the middle class. I'm going to solve the problem in Ukraine. I didn't get any specifics from you.
That's not. She has been specific. She said, "This is what I believe in. These are the areas that we're going to address. We're going to give
what I believe in. I don't care what a presidential candidate believes in. I want to know what they're going to do.
That is telling you what she's going to do. But kind of going into the detail of just lying to the American detail. More specific would just be lying. Would just be lying to the American public right now.
Tony, I love you. I appreciate the call. We're up against a break, but buddy, come on. Any more details? She's going to be lying. All she gave was this kind of bleeding heart liberal. This is what I feel. I am going to solve the war between Israel and Palestine. How? Well, I believe I will. I have a heart for Israel. I'm going to stand with Israel as well as with Palestine. I mean, it was just fluff. There's no specifics there. And if you're going to be the president of the United States, lead this nation. Tell us exactly what you intend to do, how you intend to achieve it. This is the top, most powerful person in the entire world. And all we got was, I believe, I feel. All that stuff. Come on. All right, Jim, we'll get to you next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Heated conversation. How did Kamala Harris perform last night? Let's go back to the phones. Jim Denver, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show. Good morning.
Hey, I don't listen to Kamala, or I don't even listen to Trump anymore. Every time those people move their mouths, another turd falls out and hits the ground, and a bunch of morons go and grab it up like they've got a brick of gold in their hand or something. It just doesn't make sense. But I got to tell you, we've really been witness to a phenomenal time in this nation's history.
Yeah.
You know, from 9/11 till now, we've had this economic collapse in 2008 where everything was purchased by the Federal Reserve and the Treasury. And, you know, so here we go. In 2020 alone, the mRNA president funded everything. And part of that funding of the mRNA method and paying everybody to stay home and to shut the economy down and for no one to suffer, it created a lot of it created some inflation.
No, Jim, so I'm exactly right with you. I believe that we're up against You Choose the News here. Great to get your opinion about both sides. There's a lot of people, Jim, that'll agree with you on that. All right, Belly, let's get to the loser edition.
Yes, it is that time of the morning where we get to play the loser edition of You Choose the News. It's not based on my opinions. These are based on stories we didn't choose earlier this week.
You are one pathetic loser.
Loser!
Let's go. Loser! You're a loser!
The Losers Club. Bunch of losers.
You're such a loser.
You made me feel like a loser!
She's a loser.
You are such a loser.
Loser.
Yes, these are the stories that were not deemed worthy of our attention by both Jeff and Blake earlier this week. I have substituted out one because the story went viral, and it's dumb to do it now. So we're not going to do that one. So we're going to have a new story in this mix.
Bus signs?
No, it was one of the dude falling through they're looking for the murder suspect, and he fell through the ceiling in the house he was hiding in. Yeah, it was all over the place yesterday. We had it first, but you guys didn't want to talk about it. So I look your direction. Okay. All right. Here are our headlines this morning, gentlemen. Employee shows no commitment to work. Headline number 2. Employee shows massive commitment to work. Headline number 3. Practice. And headline number 4. Parting gift. Mr. Hunt, your choice.
Commitment to work.
Yes, employees showing no commitment to work. An Australian mining company is super mad at all their workers. They're mad about what they do in the office. They are super mad that sometimes they go out and have coffee. How dare they? Don't they understand? Says Mineral Resource Director Chris Ellison. We are paying them to be here to work, not to leave the building and go find something to drink. This is mad. They're super mad that employees are leaving the office to go get a cup of coffee. I think that your anger is misplaced, sir. Again, think about that. Think about that one.
Dude, it's the nectar, man.
Yeah.
And you know the difference between me when I first get here and after I have my first cup of coffee?
There is a difference.
It is a night and day difference, man.
Ooh. I'm drinking coffee just because we're going to do that story. All righty. Blake Olson, your choice, sir. Employee shows massive commitment to work. Practice, or parting gift.
Man, that's all right. Massive.
Okay, employee shows massive commitment to work. A Wells Fargo worker in Arizona, Denise Prudhomme, has shown a massive commitment to work. In fact, she worked 4 days in a row without ever clocking off, ever, because she died at her desk.
Oh, I heard about that.
Yes.
Wells Fargo.
Denise was clocked in Tempe, Arizona, 7 a.m. August 16th. The Tempe Police Department confirmed she was dead at her desk 4 days later. Oh. Nobody seemed to notice that Denise
right out of
was
office
dead.
Space.
Yes. Yes. Now,
space.
Some Wells Fargo workers said they reported smelling a foul odor, but they thought it was just Ken, who's in the department there too. I may have added that last part, but yes.
You know, it's right out of that line. So what is it that you do here?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. Our final
4 days. Wow.
Our final choice this morning, Jeff Hunt, practice, or parting gift.
We're going to begin Labor Day weekend with a parting gift.
Yes, a parting gift. We go to San Antonio. You know, the phrase, they say you can't take it with you, but evidently you can be charged for it. A woman who is 91 years old recently passed away this summer. She has been buried. She's dead. And now she's received a $15,000 bill for rent. Yes, the apartment complex wants to prorate her rent for the rest of the year and penalize her $1,100 for breaking the lease.
I saw that.
Oddly enough, there's a law in Texas that says if you pass away, you can break the lease free of consequences. The apartment complex says, we don't care about no laws. We don't know sinking badges. We can do what we want. So they want over $15,000 from the family.
It's going to take a lot of smelling salts to get
Yes,
that
it
money
is.
back out of her.
It is. Well, that's it. That's the end of You Choose the News, Blake. We'll talk to you in a sec with your newscast and commentary. That's it. I'm done. Back to you, sir.
Way to wrap up the week with You Choose the News. All right, we've got a property tax agreement down at the state capitol. How's it going to impact you? Kristi Burton Brown joins us next, followed by the one Republican who voted against it, Mark Baisley. You're definitely not going to want to miss this hour. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
7 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Billy Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Billy, I can't think of a better example of the right, left, and center than the last hour debating Kamala Harris and Tim Walz's performance.
That was fantastic.
With Dana Bash on CNN. We did. Yeah. And then Billy and I got to interact with whoever was on the opposite side of us. Yeah. So you took the conservative caller, I took the more progressive caller, and
this is fun. This is why we're different than anybody else. Where else are you going to find that this morning? Nowhere. Even you can go search those national shows. Not a single other show is going to replicate what we do.
And what we're about to do in the next hour, you're not going to hear anywhere else in Colorado either. We have Kristi Burton Brown coming up. She's the executive vice president of Advance Colorado, former chairwoman of the Colorado Republican Party. They have negotiated a deal down at the Colorado State Capitol with regards to property tax rate decreases. And we're going to get a sense of how that negotiation turned out. So you're going to hear directly from the people that are at the center of that negotiation, which is going to affect your property taxes. And then one Republican stood up against this deal, not a fan of it. Senator Mark Baisley, representing Douglas County and kind of the southern parts of Denver there. We'll hear directly from him right afterwards. So this is going to be an hour you're not going to hear anywhere else. 8 o'clock hour, John and Maria Castillo are going to join us. You know them as the parents of Kendrick Castillo, great heroes in this community, and they're renaming Lucent Boulevard after Kendrick. We're going to get details on that from John and Maria. And then we have the screenwriter from Reagan, the new movie coming out today. Great film. Got to see an advanced screening of it. Howie Klausner is going to join us, screenwriter for Reagan in the 8 o'clock hour. And then good friend of the show, Jeremy Levy, is going to join us. Great podcaster and blogger about the radio industry here in Denver, Colorado. Great young man. So you're not going to want to miss the rest of the show. Absolutely fantastic. Let's check in on the news and commentary with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. 57 and clear, expecting a high of 88 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
New way forward and turn the page on the last decade of what I believe has been contrary to where the spirit of our country really lies.
But the last decade, of course, the last 3.5 years has been part of your administration.
I'm talking about an era.
She's been the vice. Isn't that funny?
I know, it's just so. I think it was Spencer who said this during the last hour. It's like we all took like mental forgetness pills, memory loss pills that somehow they weren't all in charge the last 3.5 years.
No doubt. The vagueness of everything dealing with time last night. She talked about deadlines and time. And then she talked about eras. Well, I'm talking about the era, not the last 3.5 years where she was the vice president. And she didn't like the Patriots cheering for America, especially in 2015 as they prepared to elect DJT. It was an exclusive interview with Kamala Khan and Tim Walz on CNN last night. And Dana Bash led the softball interview. How about the ongoing Israel-Hamas war?
No, we have to get a deal done. Dana, we have to get a deal done. When you look at the significance of this to the families, to the people who are living in that region, a deal is not only the right thing to do to end this war, but will unlock so much of what must happen next. I remain committed since I've been on October 8th to what we must do to work toward a two-state solution, where Israel is secure and in equal measure, the Palestinians have security and self-determination and dignity.
She doesn't have the slightest idea what she's doing.
No idea. She has all Hamas has to do is surrender. She has no idea.
I mean, that is one of the most pathetic answers from a global leader.
Right.
Like, that's literally what you ask in a job interview, and they just kind of spew randomness to make you try to feel
for everybody involved.
Yeah, no, we're going to work to make sure everybody is secure and things are, oh my
Here's
goodness.
What we do. We meet in the middle. And then we all agree, you compromise, and then and that's how we're going to do it. Yeah, she's clueless. They got to the hard-hitting stuff, Jeff. The flippity flopper Harris.
Is this the cold slaw? Was this the cold slaw answer?
No, yeah. You know what? I didn't put that one in there, but you can play that one.
Yeah. Speaking of hard hitting,
no,
yeah, right.
This was when she found out Biden was forced out. I mean, stepping aside.
And we had just had pancakes and, Auntie, can I have more bacon? Yes, I'll make you more bacon. And then we were sitting down to do a puzzle.
Wait, before I continue. So it was probably room service. She probably didn't make the bacon, and they were probably on their smartphones. They I love how she throws in a puzzle in there.
And the phone rang, and it was Joe Biden. And he told me what he had decided to do. And I asked him, "Are you sure?" And he said, "Yes."
Wow.
And but that's how I learned about it.
And what about the endorsement? Amazing. Did you ask for it?
And he was very clear that he was going to support me.
So when he called to tell you, he said, "I'm pulling out of the race and I'm going to support you."
Well, my first thought was not about me, to be honest with you. My first thought was about him, to be honest.
Her thought was about thinking about
I think history is going to show a number of things about Joe Biden's presidency.
Well, you got that right. Tim Murtaugh, communications director for Team Trump, on the weird interview, which, by the way, was really poorly lit. It looked really strange. And I think she dyed her hair blonde. I don't know about that. Her hair looks a little lighter.
It was a disaster. And when she talks about hiring Republicans or fracking or taxes or whatever it is, again, she demonstrated to Americans that you cannot believe what she said, because she's saying, I once believed X, I now believe Y. But trust me when I say nothing has changed.
Well, a bill that will further cut property taxes for Coloradans is headed to the governor's desk. State Democratic Senator Chris Hansen, one of the bill's prime sponsors, says that these savings are going to be on top of the tax cuts lawmakers passed during the regular legislative session in May.
The change in this bill for homeowners is relatively small. It's about $80 for the average homeowner. That package was about $1.3 billion in total. This adds about another $250 million onto that.
They passed the bill Thursday, wrapping up a 4-day special session in the Capitol. Denver Mayor Johnston and Aurora Mayor Kaufman on KUSA Thursday talking about the TDA Venezuelan gang problem in Aurora and potentially in Denver. Kaufman says there's some hysteria about the problem because it's gone nationwide and worldwide.
Well, they've been conflating it with every issue where there's Venezuelans who gather together. There was an issue several Sundays ago where in anticipation of the election returns in Venezuela, there were some social media platforms that said, let's do a meetup at this location in Aurora. And yeah, it was poorly organized. It wasn't organized, and it had some detrimental effects. And they somehow conflate that with gang activity.
Well, the problem I have is none of them should be here. They're illegal and they probably didn't go through the system. But that's what we do. Wide open borders for people who we don't know. We have no idea their backgrounds and what have you. The Denver office of the medical examiner is using new rapid toxicology technology that provides results in just 30 minutes. The in-house toxicology screening device allows staff to test the blood of people who have died for substances like meth, fentanyl, and other drugs. It can detect 29 different types of drugs from a single blood sample. Officials say the technology serves as an early warning system, keeping track of new drugs in the community and determining which ones pose the greatest threat. TSA expects to check a record-breaking 17 million travelers over the upcoming Labor Day weekend. Denver, San Francisco, New York, Boston, and Chicago among the top U.S. destinations. Domestic travel is up 9% from last year.
5 seconds to go. He gets it off. It's short of the end zone. They wrestle for it, but time has expired, and the Buffaloes will win it.
31-26 over North Dakota State at Folsom Field. Kicking off the new season, Travis Hunter was absolutely stunning.
They just get it off into the end zone. Contact. What a catch! A miraculous, implausible, impossible catch by 12.
One of the best catches I've ever seen. Shedeur Sanders, 4 touchdowns, 445 yards, 3 to Hunter. So the Buffs win in week 1. 53 in Lafayette, 55 in Littleton, 57 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. TGIF. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
High pressure and dry air will dominate the weather here along the Front Range and across all of Colorado for what will be a really nice stretch of weather through Labor Day Monday. Highs will be upper 80s today. Highs will be middle to upper 80s all the way through Labor Day Monday. Nights will be in the 50s to near 60 degrees. Any chance of showers and thunderstorms through the weekend will be low. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Annuities can provide guaranteed payments, giving you a peace of mind. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, big news coming out of the state capitol for just about everybody in our beautiful state. Colorado lawmakers wrap up special session and pass a property tax deal. At the heart of this was Advance Colorado, who's working on 2 ballot initiatives that forced the Democrats to the table to negotiate. It was a deal that came together with Republicans and Democrats, and it looks like the governor is going to sign it. And at the heart of that was Advance Colorado. The executive vice president of Advance Colorado is Kristi Burton Brown, former chairwoman of the Colorado Republican Party. She joins the Jeff and Bill Show. Good morning, Kristi. Congratulations on the deal.
Yeah.
Good morning. Thank you. I think it's a great deal for the people of Colorado, and that is who we fight for.
So give us some specifics. How is this going to help the good people of the Mile High State?
Absolutely. So the key part of this deal that was passed through the legislature, $1.6 billion in annual property tax relief. I'd say, it's one of the first time in Colorado, one of the first times in the entire nation, conservatives were able to push what pretty much amounts to a Democrat supermajority to give tax relief in a special session to voters. So this will be a tax cut on your property taxes from 6.7% down to 6.3 or 6.4. And it will also be a cap, a permanent cap. Both of these, the cut and cap, are protected by Tabor, which is an essential provision. And the cap would mean that going forward in the future, you will not experience the kind of property tax spike you saw last year with an average of 25-30% increase. The cap is going to be 5.25% annually on local governments and 6% or inflation on school districts. So huge win for the people of Colorado and a permanent fix to property taxes.
Now, people are always concerned when Democrats are at the table because they never like any money they can't fully get their hands on, right? They always want to keep as much as they possibly can for all their projects. So how do you get them to want to negotiate some of these caps?
Well, you're absolutely right. They always, want to keep as much money as possible for themselves. And that's actually why they came to the table. The ballot measures that Advance Colorado is running, 108 and 50, that were going to be on the ballot in November, would have taken even more money from the state government and required the state government to fully backfill local government with property tax cuts. And so I think when when liberal leaders see something like that on the horizon, and, they think they can protect a portion of their budget, even if they do have to give what amounts to a very huge tax cut to people, they're going to take the lesser rather than the greater. And basically, we got 2/3 of the property tax relief we were seeking for people on the ballot with this guaranteed win in special session.
Now, we are going to hear from Mark Baisley after you, and Mark was the only Republican that voted against it. Was this one of those deals where not everybody was happy? Republicans wanted a little bit more, Democrats wanted a little bit more, but because of the nature of the pressures, right? The ballot initiative was going to go to the voters, which could have given a bigger tax break, but it wasn't 100% certain that was going to pass. And so is this one of those kind of compromises where it's good that not everybody's happy?
I think, Jeff, that's often the only way you can get a deal done is when not everyone is 100% happy. So I don't think there's a single person out there who would say, oh, this is the perfect property tax legislation. We got everything we wanted. No one is out there claiming that. And it is because in order to actually, get a state largely controlled by Democrats to cut taxes for people, you can't go in and get everything you want, but neither can they, and they didn't. And in many cases, I mean, you probably saw the amendment some of the Dems were running, and then it turned into a bill where they actually wanted to ban citizens' ability to do statewide ballot measures to cut property taxes in the future. And we were able to shut that down, get that killed. So there were definitely extra things they wanted. And Michael Fields, who was, of course, as everyone knows, in charge of the negotiations on our side, held very firm on the deal and said, that is not part of the deal. You can't do that. And so, many things that happen behind the scenes, people may not be aware of, that we're fighting for the citizens and taxpayers and pushing as hard as possible for them.
Kristi Burton Brown, Executive Vice President for Advanced Colorado, on with Jeff and Bill this morning, spiking the football because they helped get this property tax relief bill through the special session. I appreciate you pointing out the idea that the Democrats are like, hey, that thing we're kind of scared of, the initiative process there? How about we don't do that anymore? And you guys are like, hey, no, stop that. Yeah, you're going to advocate, Democrats, to take away the vote of the people. That's an interesting thing going into a fall election.
And we'll let you vote on wolves.
yes, but
you
not
just
on your
can't
property
vote
tax.
on your property taxes.
Yes, we will tell you what you're allowed to vote on, and you will be happy about it and eat more of this.
Specifically, that you can't vote on property tax cuts.
Yeah.
I mean, and think about that from a First Amendment perspective, a government stepping in and saying, not like you can't vote on this topic as a whole, which has its own problems. You can't vote to support a particular side of this topic.
Yeah.
Giant problems with that.
Huge problems. Now, do you want to play devil's advocate for a moment? There is a camp that says, listen, you had the wind at your back. You had the pressure. This was the end of the football game. You are tied 7-7. You've got the ball on the 3-yard line. It should be easy enough to get that thing into the end zone. You get the touchdown and everybody's happy. Why kick the field goal? I understand a win is a win, but more points. If you get the initiative, more money. How do you respond to the argument that, this was bad for Republicans to come even and play ball? They should have just mucked up the special session and then pushed for the ballot initiative this fall. How do you respond?
Sure, and I appreciate people who are out there saying we want as much property tax relief as possible for Colorado. It's what we wanted too. That's why we've been in this fight for years at this point. I think here's the thing. You can say on one hand, hey, if we did the ballot measures, we could get even more property tax relief. Correct. If you lose the ballot measures, you get absolutely no property tax relief. And so people, often forget that part of the equation. A ballot measure campaign is never a guaranteed win. And you have to consider the opposite. What's the result if it doesn't go the way you want? And I think a lot of times, as conservatives who always want tax cuts, we can talk in echo chambers. The people who we're talking to are like, this is obvious. I want a property tax cut and cap. And incidentally, polling showed 70% of Coloradans wanted a property tax cut and cap. Here's the problem: ballot language. The state has taken action, passed laws to interfere with the ballot title that appears on people's ballot. You see a huge difference in polling when you poll ideas versus actual ballot language. And whenever Colorado voters become confused about whether or not a ballot measure does what you're claiming it does, you tend to vote no. And so that's an issue on this you have to consider. Could this lose because voters are so confused about the ballot language that the state is requiring? Like I said, it's yet another way the state interferes with voters' ability to understand what they're actually voting on. We have a case that just got appealed up to the U.S. Supreme Court challenging some of these ballot title requirements. but it's what we deal with right now, and that always has to be taken into consideration. It's one of the reasons we believed a guaranteed win, getting 2/3 of the relief we were fighting for, was the best path forward for people.
Talking with Kristi Burton Brown, Executive Vice President of Advance Colorado. In addition to all this, yesterday you also had another press release that went out, Back the Blue Initiative, certified for November ballot. Give us a sense of what people are going to see on their ballot this November regarding that issue.
Yes, thanks, Jeff, for bringing that up. That's another thing we like to remind people. We have 3 more measures on the ballot in November. So plenty of opportunity to enact just good policy for our state that the legislature is failing to do. That specific one, we also have a truth in sentencing and right to school choice measure. But this specific one's our last one to get approved for the ballot. It is Back the Blue. It forces, in fact, the legislature to take $350 million out of their general fund. That is not new taxes for you. It's money the legislature's already going to spend and allocate however they want. This ballot comes in and says, we're not funding law enforcement enough. Create this $350 million fund where law enforcement agencies across the state can apply for more funding for training, higher salaries for police officers, recruitment, and $1 million death benefit anytime a police officer, firefighter, or emergency responder dies in the line of duty.
That's quite a bit.
Wow. I like that a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I want to get into this, and I know we've got to wrap with you here shortly. Conservatives have been desperate for the last decade here in Colorado. I think 2014 was the last really good year that conservatives had and Republicans had in the state of Colorado for wins, anything. And it just feels like we lose the state house, we lose the state senate, we lose statewide. There's no Republican elected there. We lose oftentimes on a lot of ballot initiatives, with the exception of some fiscal ballot initiatives. But Advance Colorado is finding a way to win in a deep blue state. You are advancing conservative, pro-Colorado policies against all these progressive institutions. Give the listeners of 710K US insight into the strategies over at Advance Colorado and how you are chalking up these victories.
Well, it is, I think our team is a really great team at Advance. Michael Fields is in charge of our strategy. I give him a ton of credit, I think, for being able to see what the people of Colorado want. That's a lot of our strategy is based on. What are people talking about? What do they want? What are they wishing the elected officials would do when they're living and raising families and working in the communities across Colorado? And as you both know, people are constantly talking about public safety and being worried about the rise in crime in Colorado and the failure of elected officials at the state level to deal with it. And so we picked public safety as 2 of our top issues. That's why we're running truth in sentencing. Colorado is one of the worst rates of people being released early from jail, going back out and reoffending, and hurting kids and hurting women in many, many cases. So we're fixing that with truth in sentencing. And then law enforcement needs more training. I mean, we're losing police officers because of some of the state laws. And so they need higher salaries. They need better training, more recruitment. That this would provide that. And then the right to school choice. It is a very Colorado thing to say parents have the ability to pick the best school for their kids. Common sense, simple idea. It's at risk again at the state capitol with bills that would threaten that right. So taking that right, preserving it in the Colorado Constitution for generations to come. Again, it's a very Colorado thing. We know based on polling numbers we have, all 3 of these initiatives are popular. Elected officials just start listening to people, but people want it. And so that is why we're running them. They're good principles that conservatives fight for, but also that independent, unaffiliated, and a lot of Democrat voters actually want to, and their candidates just aren't fighting for it. So we're going to go get it on the ballot with the voters.
I mean, it's very impressive. And if you want to learn more about Advance Colorado, go to advancecolorado.org, advancecolorado.org. You can donate there. It's going to take a lot of money to get these ballot initiatives across. I know they're appealing to the people of Colorado, but in this state, special interest groups, many times outside of the state, are funding progressive positions on these ballot initiatives. Do you all have the money to be able to fight against these and advance these ballots?
Yeah, Jeff, great question and great point about special interest from out of state. I think you always need more money, always need more money in order to guarantee these things pass. I think at this point, you can't say, it absolutely will pass. It's so popular. You have to keep fundraising down to the wire, down to the last minute, educating voters, being in communities. And it is true that even basic common sense ideas like making sure parents can pick any school they want for their kids, teachers unions, they don't like that. And we already know they're speaking against it. They're claiming they're going to raise money against it and spend because they don't want Colorado to guarantee school choice for every family in our state constitution. So I think we can never take for granted that just because something is a common sense and popular idea, it's going to pass. Have to fight down to the last minute. And we are still fundraising for all of these and also believe that they will pass.
And you all have a history of this at Advance Colorado. So a donation, I know as donors, as a Republican conservative donor, you're like, oh boy, it's hard to sometimes want to give because you're just not sure if we're going to win in the state. But here you have an organization that's found a track record, or that has a track record, has found a pathway and is winning. Bill Owens, Terry Considine, good people connected to this. And you can learn more at advancecolorado.org, advancecolorado.org. They're finding ways to advance conservative principles in such a challenging state. All right, we got to wrap up here. I know with you, Kristi Burton Brown. Final question. It's a big weekend for Dave Williams. Any comments you want to provide on that issue?
I don't know about that. I think the results of last weekend should stand. They've been recognized by the NRCC. And, I think Dave Williams should move on and let the Colorado Republican Party move on and focus on our candidates.
All right. From a former chairwoman. So speaks with a little authority there. Kristi Burton Brown, thanks for all you're doing for the people of Colorado. Thank you to Michael Fields as well. I think you are the dynamic duo, some of the smartest people advancing conservative principles in a very challenging state. And I think a lot of other states could learn from you as well. Thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yeah, thank you so much. Good job and keep up the fight. We appreciate you.
Thank you both. Thank you.
All right. Coming up next, Senator Mark Baisley disagrees the single Republican no vote. He's going to join us. Is he standing on principle or did he need to get in line? We're going to hear from Mark Baisley next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Fantastic.
This is my kind of music, buddy, and it is Friday morning.
Such a good song.
In
This is a
Colorado, the weather's warm. It's Labor Day. There's good country
nice.
music. All right. Well, coming up next.
Yeah, we can't listen to the whole thing. We would sit here and just, that's so good. What a surprise, the music rotation. That's
Crack
wonderful.
open a Coors Light. Listen to some Sarah Evans.
Yeah, kick that on this afternoon around 2 o'clock. Get it off work early. Let's do this thing.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
There's a beer available from that spill that happened yesterday. So in my analysis, and I'm not a lawmaker, but I went and looked at the votes. It seems like there was one Republican that looked at this property tax negotiation and said, no, not on my watch. And that was Senator Mark Baisley. He's a good friend of the show, who joined us when we did our live broadcast on Tuesday at Doug's Diner. So I texted Senator Baisley. I said, Mark, you got to give us your reasoning. He's happy to. Joining the Jeff and Bill show is Senator Mark Baisley. Good morning, Mark.
Hey, morning. Thanks for getting up with us.
Good morning. My pleasure. And with this kind of energy, you guys are rocking it this morning. I'm happy to be part of the party.
We're just sorry we don't have the biscuits and stuff from Doug's Diner. That's what we're sad about.
That was good.
Yeah,
it was fun. You guys, you need to do that again, and even in that same location, that was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So
and
much
help
fun there.
those local businesses in our areas. So Senator Baisley, you were down there for part of the special session. It lasted 4 days. This bill got to you. You had the little buttons on your desk and you voted no. So give us an insight into your reasoning on that.
Sure. So let me first give, like I gave my speech to my fellow state senators, 34 others plus me, my reasoning. But first, let me just kind of pat a lot of them on the back, because they really did arm wrestle a lot and come up with a bill that is better than what we would have had, and it's a compromise, which is how the founders put the nation together, right? That all parties come together, we compromise to come up with something that everybody can live with, and hopefully everybody's a little bit angry about it, and then that means we know we have a pretty decent compromise on the table, and that's what we have. So I don't want to totally slam it, because there was a lot of good work that went into it, but I want to credit the people of the state of Colorado, and certainly Advanced Colorado and so on, who brought the Democrats to the table, because they put in and passed the second tax bill in a row, 2 years in a row, to address property taxes. That was not a good deal for the people of Colorado, but the people exercised their right to put two measures on the ballot to address this, to cap the amount of how much property taxes can go up and so on. That brought the Democrats to the table and say, the people are going to override our legislative decision that the governor will sign, but the people are going to override us through the petition process and the ballot process in November 5. So let's cut a deal with them so we don't lose it all. So that the compromise was made, and that's what this fat 43-page bill is, and it's not bad. Here's why I voted no, however. The entire bill, 43 pages, addresses the quick rise in our valuation of the property, and that's the basis on which we tax everybody for property. So it's a little wonky, but there's three things we use to determine what people's property taxes are. One is the tax rate, which is typically 6.5%. That's a rate set by the legislature. And then there's the mills. Those are these little fraction multipliers for each of the districts that your property is in, a library district, water district, and sometimes a hospital district, and so on. And then that's multiplied times the value of your property. As we all know, the value of the property went shooting up a couple of years ago, which made everybody's property taxes shoot way up as well. That is, to me, the problem. And we talked about it back there at Doug's Diner. My approach and the bill that I submitted for this special session was to remove that last multiplier, because it's a wild swing, and it has nothing to do with how much we ought to be paying for all those services that we get. It's just hangs out there and it swings wildly and it makes everybody's property tax go shooting up and possibly come crashing back down. So that is the underlying problem. We can fix it relatively easily if we simply stop multiplying at times people's property valuations. And this bill that did pass is all about making adjustments year after year after year for that property valuation because they know it may go up. I'll give you just one little quick reading of a paragraph, and nobody go to sleep here, but it says, this, I'll cut it so quick. The valuation for residential property will be 6.7% of the amount equal to the actual value of the property minus the lesser of 10% of the actual value of the property, or $70,000 as adjusted for inflation in the first year of each subsequent reassessment cycle. It's that kind of language over and over and over for every year. If the property valuations go up above 5% or if they go below 5%, it's all adjusting for this one. What I find the error in the whole thing, which is we are basing all of our property taxes on the value of the property. It has nothing to do with the need for the fire district and the library district and so on. So we need to fix this.
You know what it kind of strikes me at, Mark, is you're kind of the Ron Paul down there that's willing to go, you know, I get that this is a good negotiation, but the premise, the foundation upon which we are determining tax dollars has nothing to do with the need of the community and everything to do with whether or not your home increases in value. That's not fair to the taxpayer. So even though there's some good parts of this, it's a good negotiated deal. It reminds me of Ron Paul going, it's the foundation that I don't like, and I'm willing to stand against it on that principle alone.
Bingo. So, you know, the concept of unrealized, what do we call it? Oh,
gains? Unrealized, because Kamala Harris likes those.
Unrealized capital gains. Thank you.
Right.
If you own stock, and yes, Kamala Harris wants to tax that. If you own shares of stock, and you're going to hold on to it for your retirement, for instance, you're going to hold on to it for 20 years or so. If the shares of stock that you own rise, yeah, Kamala wants to tax that on the value of the stock that rose, but you didn't cash it out. So why are you getting taxed on it? So it's unrealized capital gains, and that is exactly the same kind of thing that's happening with our properties. That our properties go up. We didn't sell that property. We didn't get cash out of that property for that moment. So why would we be extra taxed on it? And that's what's happening with our property. So yes, it's the basis, it's the foundation, which is on some shifting sand. Not a good foundation.
We're getting some text messages here from folks that agree with you, stand with you, and they're concerned. What could Democrats do when we get back into session in January? Could they just undo all this?
You know, they could, but it would sure be, and the reason they could is because this is statute. This is law. This is not changing the state constitution. So yes, they can change anything. Now, it would have to be a real violation of integrity, because there have been a lot of agreements made, and even people signed on a letter saying, hey, if we do this, you'll do that. Because think about this. We just passed this law. The governor hasn't signed it yet. He's got to sign this bill into law. And then once he does that, then the people who put the two measures on the ballot are going to withdraw those measures on the ballot. So all these things have to happen in agreement. And then, and this bill moves forward. It addresses the conditions of the value of property for the next several years. And so, yeah, it's a trust factor for this going forward for about 6 years that the Democrats don't mess with it and change the deal. So, yeah, there's a lot of trust laying out there that based on hope.
I get it. We're talking with State Senator Mark Baisley. I've got one more question. We've got to wrap here. Who do you think the state chairman of the Republican Party is right now?
So I think that it is Dave Williams is still the state party chair until sometime tomorrow, and then I don't know. So you know what, there was a disagreement over whether that previous meeting was the official meeting, but we have opportunity to truly everyone come together and agree that that's the official meeting, and the big vote will happen, and we'll either retain Dave or we won't, and move on. So that's my. I have actually not followed that extremely closely because I've been wrestling property taxation.
Probably smart of you. You're probably much saner and much happier because you've been ignoring it. I'm a little jealous. It's been chaos.
Well,
you're right, Bill.
You know, we rarely take sides on things, but what we appreciate is when people come on to share their positions. And in this case, we heard from Kristi Burton Brown early in the 7 o'clock hour, Mark Baisley, who voted against the property tax negotiated bill yesterday that came through the state Senate. He joins us now. Always great to hear from both of y'all. Really appreciate the service you're doing to the state of Colorado. State Senator Mark Baisley, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great Labor Day weekend.
Thanks, Bill. Yeah, you too, guys.
Take care. That was really cool. I enjoyed the fact that he outlined the math, and it wasn't that he thought necessarily this was an awful deal that got passed. He congratulated his GOP compatriots down there, but said, it's more solid if we did it this way. And he's right, I think, based on, the mathematical principle. But then math is hard. And getting everybody down to the state legislature, especially the Dems, to change the math that would not allow them to get the more taxes, that's a heavy lift. But I appreciate the stand that he took. It's fantastic. And speaking of standing, I am going to the Green Day concert next weekend, and I'm going to be standing the entire time, thanks to my friends at Balance Well Space. I know that you've been dealing with pain. There's certain things that you restrict in your life. There's pain that continues. And maybe you're like me. You just thought, this is it. This is what getting old is about. You get out of the chair, you sit back down. Oh, yeah, there we go. I thought those noises were supposed to be what older guys did. Come to find out, no, doesn't have to be that way. I want you to fight your pain like I am. Visit my friends at Balance Well Space. Here's the difference. It's integrative medicine. So you have an entire team that is focused on your pain and getting you better. You go in, you talk to Dr. Julie, Dr. Jess, and they evaluate you. They ask you about what you're hurting from and also what you're not doing. They then put together, after some examinations and some x-rays and things, a personalized plan for you. After that, they go to work. They take care of you, and it is multifaceted. Inside one office, you can get chiropractic care, neuropathy, physical rehabilitation, wave therapy, regenerative care, trigger point injections, and so much more, along with some amazing cutting-edge technology. That's the difference with Balance Well Space. Integrative medicine, one stop for everything that hurts. And because all the team is working together, they also are reevaluating you on a regular basis. So they get together and talk about you and then change the plan based on how well you're doing or what isn't working exactly right. When's the last time your medical team got together and discussed your care? Yeah, I know they don't. That's the point. They don't talk because you're going to different offices, different doctors, and this offers you one treatment plan, one office visit, and you're done. Yesterday, I was there, in and out, 45 minutes. We had 4 different things. My knee is doing amazing right now because we're regenerating the meniscus that I lost and tore a number of years ago. So you've got that amazing regenerative medicine. They're doing the same thing in my lower back. And the way that they used wave therapy to break up the scar tissue in my right shoulder is nothing short of remarkable. They can do amazing things for your neuropathy, your pain, but you need to talk to them first. balancewellspace.com. Check them out, balancewellspace.com. They're in Lowry, right across from Hangar 2. Big parking lot with shady trees, which is important to me. But talk to them. Talk to the team. I want you to experience the difference in your life that I'm experiencing with Balance Well Space. Balancewellspace.com, balancewellspace.com, and tell them you heard about it on Jeff and Bill.
Great to hear you're getting the care there, Billy.
It's wonderful.
All right. In the 8 o'clock hour, John and Maria Castillo are going to join us on the renaming of Lucien Boulevard after Kendrick Castillo, one of the greatest young men this state has ever produced. Kendrick Castillo, fantastic. He gave his life for his friends during the STEM shooting, is a martyr.
Yeah.
Should be recognized maybe as a saint.
Oh, he's fantastic. He's an amazing kid.
And I'm not Catholic, so you can tell me, but I think he should be. But we're going to talk with the Castillos in a second. And then the screenwriter for the hit film coming out this weekend, Reagan, is going to join us in the 8 o'clock hour as well. Some fantastic lineup. Stick with us. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
the Jeff and Bill show on this Friday, August 30th. Let's go back to the phone. Frank Denver, you're on the Jeff and Bill show. News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Good morning.
Now, on the national level, I would like for you to all take a deep breath and hum with me to get into the right vibe.
Okay, I'm ready.
I want you to repeat the mantra, we're all so screwed.
We're all
on the
so
local
screwed.
level, did
We're
I
all so
understand after KBB did I understand that the local Dems are either going to be lying to us or they're going to introduce word salad on the ballot that we can't understand? Those are the choices as we go into the Labor Day weekend.
Sounds like we need a beer. I mean,
I think you're headed for a Coors Light.
here's Kamala Harris on Fracking, by the way, yesterday.
Energy is a big one. When you were in Congress, you supported the Green New Deal. And in 2019, you said, quote, there is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking. There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah, and starting with what we can do on day one around public lands.
All right, that was
I
her
think
in
we need to see it. Common
2019.
sense.
Flip-flopping on fracking. We do need to hum that. What is it? We are also
Yes, we're also screwed. We're also screwed. Frank is right. Thanks, Frank. I hope you have a great
Frank,
weekend.
appreciate the
Call us
call.
next week's man.
Have a good Labor Day. All right, the Castillos are up
screwed.
next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Friday morning in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Billy Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Mark Baisley even taking some of this energy coming from the show. Get him started for the day. It's been
great.
An absolutely fantastic show. We've covered the Harris Walls interview. If you missed that, that was in the 6 o'clock hour. My wife called.
Yeah.
She said, I'm just getting going. I got the kids. Go back. I want to hear you and Billy debate it some more. And Billy and I got into it.
Did we ever go back to that 6 o'clock hour? And callers chimed in. One liberal, one conservative, and a couple of others, and listen to the conversations. They are wonderful. You'll enjoy the 6 o'clock hour. Check out the
Billy
podcast.
and the conservative, me and the Democrat. And
it was fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, really good. Shout out to Tony and Spencer that love to play along. We appreciate you guys a lot that you call in and spend time with us, and each and every one of you listening as well.
7 o'clock hour, Kristi Burton Brown joined us along with Mark Baisley on this property tax bill that was negotiated down at the state capitol. Mark appreciating what Kristi did, supporting a lot of it, but saying there's some fundamental issues I disagree with. So if you want to get into the policy weeds on what this property tax bill is going to do for you, great 7 o'clock hour. And up in just a second, John and Maria Castillo are going to join us. These are the parents of Kendrick Castillo, the famed hero of Highlands Ranch, who gave his life defending his friends during the STEM shooting. They're renaming Lucin Boulevard.
I'm so happy for a variety of reasons. I'm going to share with John and Maria about why that is, but it's fantastic. And you always have this notion, you always kind of sometime in your mind, you think, if I'm in this situation, what would I do?
Yeah.
And we all need to be so impressed with the choice that Kendrick made that day and how difficult it is, because in certain situations, some of us, have to be honest, we wouldn't be able to make that same choice.
No.
So
We would freeze. We would freeze. That's core to your gut. That's like his heart.
It is. It's his heart. It's his soul. It's how his parents raised him. He did what was right. We had the poem yesterday from Jeff Hildebrand, who's going to be doing some regular poetry from us. He was on political observations, but the closing, he talked about this is not a choice of right or left. It's a choice of right or wrong. And that's the choice that Kendrick made. He made the choice for right, while other people walked into that school making the choice for wrong.
That's exactly right, Bill. Exactly right. So we'll hear from the Castillos, and then the screenwriter for the new hit movie Reagan, Howie Klausner, joins us. He also did Space Cowboys with Clint Eastwood.
Oh, wow.
He's the screenwriter of that as well.
Cool.
He'll be joining us at 8:30. And then good friend of the program, Jeremy Levy, is going to join us in the 9 o'clock hour. So absolutely jam-packed, fantastic show for you all to take into your Labor Day weekend. But let's start first with the news and commentary from Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. 61 and clear, expecting a high of 88 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
When you were in Congress, you supported the Green New Deal. And in 2019, you said, quote, there is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, as president, I will not ban fracking.
The flip-flopper.
And we had just had pancakes and
Kamala Harris on with Dana Bash of CNN. Tim Walz was also sitting to her right. It was a joke, softball interview, and the border czar, even the lefties lie and say that she wasn't the border czar. Well, they lie and they say that she wasn't the border czar. She's asked about the wide open border, and she blames the former president.
During the Biden-Harris administration, there were record numbers of illegal border crossings. Why did the Biden-Harris administration wait 3.5 years to implement sweeping asylum restrictions?
A bill was crafted, which we supported, which I support. And Donald Trump got word of this bill that would have contributed to securing our border. And because he believes that it would not have helped him politically, he told his folks in Congress, don't put it forward. He killed the bill.
Yeah, because most of the money went to Ukraine. What does Ukraine have to do with the southern border? Tim Murtaugh, communications director for Team Trump, on her first interview in 38 days. Are you kidding me?
It was a disaster. And when she talks about hiring Republicans or fracking or taxes or whatever it is, again, she demonstrated to Americans that you cannot believe what she said, because she's saying, I once believed X, I now believe Y, but trust me when I say nothing has changed.
Back at home, a bill that will further cut property taxes for Coloradans is headed to the governor's desk. Kristi Burton Brown from Advance Colorado on with Jeff and Bill last hour.
First time in Colorado, one of the first times in the entire nation, conservatives were able to push what pretty much amounts to a Democrat supermajority to give tax relief in a special session.
State Democratic Senator Chris Hansen.
The change in this bill for homeowners is relatively small. It's about $80 for the average homeowner. That package was about $1.3 billion in total. This adds about another $250 million onto that.
But there are those who oppose. State Senator Mark Baisley respectfully disagreed because there's a third multiplier that slaps us all in the face.
Remove that last multiplier because it's a wild swing, and it has nothing to do with how much we ought to be paying for all those services that we get. It's just hangs out there and it swings wildly and it makes everybody's property tax go shooting up and possibly come crashing back down. That is the underlying problem. We can fix it relatively easily if we simply stop multiplying at times people's property valuations.
Freaking multipliers. Lawmakers passed the bill Thursday, wrapping up a 4-day special session in the Capitol. Denver Mayor Johnston and Aurora Mayor Kaufman on KUSA Thursday talking about the TDA Venezuelan gang problem in Aurora and potentially in Denver. Kaufman says there's some hysteria about the problem because it's gone nationwide.
It's overwhelming our 911 system, our emergency call center, and so it's actually hurting our ability to respond to crime. And so I would hope people would not do that. I think we're in some sort of environment of hysteria right now over this. It's a real issue. It's being dealt with. It's isolated.
An Aurora man has been arrested in connection with the murder of a man whose body was found in Greenwood Village earlier this year. The body of 18-year-old Jose Hernandez was found on April 27th near East Union Avenue and South Yosemite Street. Police have identified the suspect as 19-year-old Jorge Trujillo, and they say that he's been wanted on a warrant for second-degree murder since May 14th. He's scheduled to appear in court next Tuesday. Columbus Blue Jackets star in hockey, the NHL, Johnny Gaudreau, has been killed in a bicycle accident. His brother Matthew was also killed in last night's accident in New Jersey when they were reportedly struck by a vehicle.
5 seconds to go. He gets it off. It's short of the end zone. They wrestle for it, but time has expired, and the Buffaloes will win it.
31-26 over the North Dakota State Bison. CU wins it as they kick off the new season. Travis Hunter was just incredible.
They just get it off into the end zone. Contact. What a catch! A miraculous, implausible, impossible catch by 12.
Man, it was an amazing catch. Great coverage, and he caught it right at the pylon. He had 3 touchdowns. Shadur Sanders, 4 touchdowns, and 445 yards in the victory. 58 in Arvada, 59 in Aurora, 61 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. TGIF, Blake Olson News Talk 710, KNUS.
High pressure and dry air will dominate the weather here along the Front Range and across all of Colorado for what will be a really nice stretch of weather through Labor Day Monday. Highs will be upper 80s today. Highs will be middle to upper 80s all the way through Labor Day Monday. Nights will be in the 50s to near 60 degrees. Any chance of showers and thunderstorms through the weekend will be low. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Annuities can provide guaranteed payments, giving you a peace of mind. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Well, some good news for those of us that adore the Castillo family, because they really are wonderful people. Lucent Boulevard and Highlands Ranch will be renamed Kendrick Castillo Way.
Oh,
if you don't remember, Kendrick Castillo was killed May 7th, 2019 at the shooting at the STEM school in Highlands Ranch. He went up to protect his classmates, directly confronted the shooter, and gave his life to save those he loves. We've hosted the Castillos a number of times at the Western Conservative Summit. They're delightful people. And joining the Jeff and Bill show this morning is John Castillo. John, thanks so much for being on the program.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Bill.
So, John, give us a sense of how this came about, and how do you feel about Lucent Boulevard being renamed after your son?
Well, it all came about and got started about 2 years ago. We had formed a memorial committee that was composed of Abe Layden, one of the county commissioners, some folks from Seven Stone Cemetery where Kendrick lays to rest, and some friends of Kendrick who were in the school on May 7th with him that day. We had some participation from the sheriff's department, and we had a series of meetings, and we came up with memorial ideas. And Lucent was one that Maria and I were really in favor of. So that's when it started, and through the series of meetings over the years, it has finally come to fruition, and we couldn't be more pleased.
Yeah, tell us how you and Maria feel. Every time you drive by, you're now going to see Kendrick Castillo Way. I got to imagine that's got to be a whole mixed bag of emotions for you all. Proud seeing that your son will be remembered forever this way, but then you have to relive what happened all the time. Give our listeners a sense of what you go through when you see that.
Well, I'll work a little bit backwards. Today in our life, we relive the event daily. It's just a way of life. We come to manage it. It can be turbulent, like going through rapids and being tossed around and then coming out to a calm for a while. It's a free fall and then an abrupt stop. And just emotions are that way, and that's the way our life is. But what this means to us and seeing, and the renaming, believe it or not, is like very near and dear to our hearts because of it's a parade route where veterans are honored, law enforcement's honored, people in the community are honored at different parts of the year. So Lucent Boulevard gets used, and I think that unfortunately, whenever there's a serious tragedy in Highlands Ranch in Douglas County, surrounding area, that, Kendrick can be the angel that's over these people as they're celebrating life and going through there. And that's really what it means to us. It means that maybe when people look up and they see Kendrick Castillo Way, I think Abe Layden summed it up really well. He said, Kendrick Castillo Way is a way of life. It's a way of protecting people. It's a way of doing the right thing. And for Maria and I have to say that through tragedy, for our law enforcement and our veterans, we support them. We've raised money for, different departments, for funerals for police officers and veteran suicide and things like that. But for citizens who make the ultimate sacrifice, like our son, there's very little that's ever been done in the past. And I don't want to disparage law enforcement or veterans, but when they adorn the uniform and they go out there, they know that there's a possibility they might not come home. It's not the same when you send your student off to school with 3 days left of school before graduation and he has to confront a shooter. And I think that that's the importance of it. And we need to be reminded of that, become better people, address mental health issues, support kids who may be going off the rail and thinking about doing horrific events, show that agape love, the ultimate love that we share for our Savior and our Lord, we need to express that to one another in our communities and make it a better place. And that's really what this means to Maria and I.
Talking with John Castillo, the father of Kendrick Castillo. For those that may not know, what did your son do that day? You talk about he didn't put on a uniform, but he had to respond to defend those that he loved. Can you give folks that may not know the story what Kendrick Castillo did that day?
Yeah, I will. You know, with 3 days left of school, he was in his British literature class with other students, sitting in the dark with the lights off, when the two shooters decided to enter the room, open up a guitar case full of guns and ammunition, and order kids to their knees so they can execute them, and starting to fire. And when Kendrick heard the command to get on the ground and obey, he rushed the shooter. And he was followed by two other students. You know, Kendrick was the first to react. There were two other heroes there, and the teacher in the room. Three other heroes, actually. And you know, Kendrick threw his body at the shooter, hoping to stop him. And for those who don't know the details, the gun jammed. I don't know if Kendrick grabbed the slide or if it was divine intervention. I don't know. But he stopped the shooting and allowed time for people to run and leave, exit that room. And in our hearts, Maria and I know that had he not made that decision to react, the situation would have looked much different. There was enough time, enough ammunition that we would be looking at something that was much worse than any other shooting that we've seen in the state, and who knows where else. That was the significance of that day. Kendrick left happy. He wasn't a sick kid. He never had any issues. He, you know, jolly, friends with everyone, and never came back home. We got the call that day, and you know, went to school and the reunification site, and we tried reaching him. We ended up at a hospital. We were pulled into a room, and we got the bad news that we had to describe Kendrick. And he was part of a crime scene. We weren't able to see him until almost a week later in the mortuary after the coroner was done with him. So that's how that day played out. It was the worst day of our lives, for sure.
I can't imagine. I'm holding back just hearing that, John. I think everybody agrees. You raised a hero. You and Maria raised a hero. Tell us about how you did that.
Well, with love. I mean, we, ever since, you know, first of all, I'll just say this, that, you know, people just don't go out and have children. It's not that easy. We had difficulties conceiving children. That's why we're such big advocates for pro-life and defending life. I mean, that's number one. So when Kendrick came into our lives, he was really a gift. And we just poured everything into him. He became the focus. He was the nucleus of our family. Everything that Maria did in her professional career to make money went to support Kendrick, his education, his hobbies. And it wasn't only that. It wasn't only feeding that. It was emotionally, you know, cooking the best meals, making sure that since he was an only child, that he was his friends were welcome. And that group of friends became our extended family. And that's really what it was about. When he was little, I mean, man, we adjusted our schedules at work so we could not pay daycare, that we can be with him as parents and raise him. You know, he adored his grandfather, who was a Marine veteran, and hang and listen to all of the stories about the Korean War. And, you know, we went on hunting trips and fishing trips and got in touch with the outdoors, and Kendrick began to love that. So it was a lot of time. It was an investment. It was our lives. Maria would plan nice vacations so we could create memories. When he went to Catholic school, I would go to adoration with him, which was just amazing. We'd go to these retreats and to pray deeply and share that. It was just, you know, that's what it was about. And that's how he became the person that he was. He loved people. That was the beginning, you know, and I wish more people would do that. I wish that our community would flock to their churches take kids who, maybe might not have that in their lives. I know that Kendrick would bring friends over and they'd pray at the table while Maria would prepare meals. And I thought that was powerful. And some of the kids didn't come from strong religious backgrounds. They'd giggle a little bit, but they would get involved and they would hold hands and pray. And that's beautiful.
John, we're talking with John Castillo, the father of Kendrick Castillo. John, I want to talk about your faith real quick here. And I believe this to be true, and I know you do too. You are temporarily without Kendrick. There will be a time when you guys are reunited. Do you think about that?
Every day. Every day I do. It's like every year that passes is a year that we're closer to him. As we age. We visit him. And I know Maria and I, we share the same sentiment. We go through our trials and tribulations, and without him, together, we hold our hands and we're walking through this. But yeah, I could hardly wait for the day that we're able to be with him again.
Oh, John Castillo joining Jeff and Bill live. Father of Kendrick Castillo, Colorado hero who stopped the STEM school shooting. It says a lot about your family, your faith, your integrity, and how solid you are as parents creating a family, because Kendrick had no questions that day what was right. That's remarkable. There was no question in his heart, in his mind, or in his soul what he had to do. And we honor him every day of our lives. Now, it's harder for us as well. Can't imagine what you guys have gone through. But I do want to try to put something fun and lighter into the conversation, because I am so happy that you are changing the name of Lucin Boulevard. It needs to be changed because company doesn't exist. This is just stupid. It's just ridiculous that they named, Lucin Boulevard built a complex out near Highlands Ranch, the little adjacent from there. And because they spent so much money and got so many tax breaks and built a giant, beautiful building, they got a street named after them, not because they were heroes or sacrificed anything. It was just because of the number of dollars and people they were going to employ, which is crap. And then the company went under. I'm a little personal about this because my wife was in the last round of layoffs and they laid her off while she was on maternity leave. So that's the quality of the company and the people there. And finally, we are renaming that street after a hero. It's about damn time that this city leaned into honoring Kendrick Castillo. We've done a lot. We haven't done enough. He is a legitimate Colorado hero for the choice he made that day. Thank goodness you guys pushed hard enough to get that street renamed. That lousy company. Congratulations. I know this hasn't been easy, and I know a number of people fought you along the way. As I told you off there, my friend, you tell me who they are. I'm happy to hold them down while you kick them. I'm all there for you.
Well, I'll share the positive. And the positive is when we had the hearing, there was an owner of Chick-fil-A where Kendrick would go that's not far from the school. And Maria laughed, and I was kind of brought to emotions when he got up and he read Kendrick's order, what he would order when he would go to that Chick-fil-A. So people haven't forgotten, and they love him. And to take time out of their busy day to support this has just been amazing.
Oh, it's amazing.
Got a text here from our good friend of the show, former host George Brockler. He goes, I've handled a number of these cases, and in many ways, heroism can be exaggerated, but that is not true here. Without question, you cannot overstate how heroic Kendrick was. He undoubtedly saved countless lives and truly laid down his life for his fellow man. And now Lucin Boulevard and Highlands Ranch is going to be renamed after him. And I'm going to pivot. And I've said this over and over and over again, John, because I have met you in person. I don't have a lot of talent, but I got one talent, and it's the ability to recognize talent. John Castillo, you have talent to lead communities. Are we going to see you run for any office soon?
No, I will not run for office, but I will support our communities. I do a father-son camp every year, and I'll reach out to our faith-based communities, and we'll continue to raise money for scholarships and help other kids.
All right. Well, I know you're a man of faith, and I'm just going to pray you there because I think you'd make a great county commissioner, governor, maybe U.S. senator someday.
But you would be great in
don't
politics, but keep leading the way you
That's
are.
right.
That's where your heart tells you you're going to be a leader no matter the path that you take. And we appreciate you.
Right.
And we are always going to stand next to you in making sure that Kendrick gets the recognition that he deserves, because he is a legitimate Colorado hero. He's amazing. He made choices so many other people couldn't and wouldn't, and he saved lives that day by his action. We can never forget that.
And please give our best to Maria. We love you, the Castillos. Thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Maria sends her love.
Oh, great to hear, man. All right. Well, I look, we've all lost people in our lives, and I think about that time when it's all going to come back and it'll all be right. And I can't imagine losing a child.
Oh, me too. I'm right there with you, my man.
And then having that moment when you're reunited again.
Oh, it's amazing. I know.
That's the hope we
Yes.
have.
Yes.
That is the hope we
and
have.
that emptiness that finally will be replaced, that finally will be filled, and it's only temporary here.
It is.
Eventually, eternally, you'll be with them.
That is the hope we have in Christ. Look, I want to talk to you about my good friend Dan Kaplis and Dan Kaplis Law. I've gotten to know Dan for the past decade. This is a true, legitimate, good man. Dan is pro-life. He's pro-family. He's pro-America. That all matters, because when you walk into a courtroom and you hired some dude because you saw the billboard on the side of the bus, it's going to send a message to everybody involved in the case about how serious you are and the type of person you are. You want somebody that shares your values. He's the son of a police officer. He's a former seminarian who's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. But more than that, he's a real winner in the courtroom. Dan Kaplis is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. But he's not just reserved for the rich and wealthy. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can help represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. Dan Kaplis Law is so trusted that they are the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. If you need Dan's help, give him a call, 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit dankaplislaw.com. That's Dan, CAPLIS law.com. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show. You're listening.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Reagan movie next.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. All right, so today there's a great film coming out. I got to see it ahead of its release.
You're just rubbing that in.
It is. I know. I'm that cool, man. I get invited. Cool. I get to do a pre-screening of Am I a Racist, too, which is coming up.
And barely anybody in my family wants to be seen with me in public. I'm not inviting any of that stuff.
So Reagan is this amazing film. Put together Dennis Quaid, John Voight, Penelope Ann Miller, that tracks Ronald Reagan's life, but really focuses in on his ability to confront the Soviet Union and communism, which is great. Really important right now, because we do have a candidate out there that's a communist. But I digress. Joining the Jeff and Bill Show is Howie Klausner. He is a veteran Hollywood screenwriter. His career began with the Clint Eastwood blockbuster Space Cowboys, and he's the screenwriter of the upcoming film Reagan, starring Dennis Quaid. Howie, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Good morning.
Are you kidding? I've always wanted to be on the Jeff and Bill Show. I'm living my dream right now, guys.
Oh, you need better dreams.
Right.
So I adored this film because it follows Reagan from kind of early parts of his life. In fact, let's play the trailer here. Here's Billy. Where is it over here? Okay, here's a little bit of the film.
There's nothing a retired governor can do about the Soviets, but a president, now he can do a thing or two.
Welcome to your life.
I was a lifeguard on a river.
There's no turning back.
And I learned how to read the currents. Not just the ones on the surface, but also the ones deep underneath the water. I am about to start the biggest war of this century, and I'm not going to fire a single shot.
You're going to blow up 8 years of diplomacy. Well, if you think that got their undies in a wad, you just wait.
What did the president know, and when did he know it?
What would you have me do?
I want you to fight.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Wants to rule the world.
Oh man, I got the goosebumps.
Nice.
Howie,
cool.
We've been having people call and text all morning that they're going to see this film this weekend. It's out today. So give us some insight on how you put together the screenplay for it.
Well, I tell you, the man lived the 20th century. He was the 20th century. He certainly defined it for America, just in the living of his life, and of course the culmination of that as president. And I tell you what it was to find the spine of a story. I mean, this thing should literally be a 20-hour miniseries. But, to find the spine of his story was that his entire life, he was looking for the purpose of that life. He really was. And he succeeded so highly at many of the things. And the whole way he knew, I haven't really found it yet until the night he was assassinated. And that was when, as he said in his own memoirs, he goes, that's when I realized that I knew what I had to do. I had to bring down that Berlin Wall. So that was it. That was the spine of the script.
Wow. Now, Howie Klausner, want to know about writing it through history. How difficult as a screenwriter is it to do something historical like this? Because you have some set signposts you have to hit. You have some speeches, some things people have said publicly, and you'd say, well, maybe it'd be cooler if they had this interaction. You can't change it. What's the struggle like doing something historical?
Man, that's a great point you're hitting on, because A, there was so much. B, oh boy, did I have a committee overwatching me all the time, including people from his cabinet, his speechwriter, a couple of his speechwriters. They were still around. So I was really put through my paces. I'm a historian. As a matter of fact, I taught history in Aspen, Colorado. So I'm so happy to be talking to Colorado right now. But, the thing is, when you write a historical piece, you've got to hit those marks, as you said. But really, we don't want a history lesson. I want to know the character. And, and I had, it was just a band of brothers and sisters really speaking in this project, including, I have to give a shout out to Penelope Ann Miller playing Nancy Reagan. She elevated this project unbelievably. She dove so deeply into that character. So really, I mean, it was a 14-year labor. I started this job in 2010. So, I guess you put the time in, you get it partially right anyway.
And how did y'all choose on Dennis Quaid to play Reagan? And what's your thoughts on his craft? How did he achieve that?
Well, first and foremost, he just knocks it out of the park. I think one of the greatest things you can say about any actor that's playing a historical figure, and I've heard this from so many people, the first 5 or 10 minutes is like I'm watching Dennis Quaid playing Ronald Reagan, and then I just forget. He doesn't walk through this thing doing an imitation. And it's funny you say there were I don't think the guys really well. There were 2 or 3 other actors over the years that were attached to play Reagan, and they're great. They are great actors, and it would have been a terrific movie with them. But it just when he came onto the project, things happened that made the other guys drop out, and it's like when he came onto it, it was just that that's the guy. And so as far as I'm concerned, I mean, this is probably the role of his lifetime. He's told everybody, he told me, he said, this is my favorite movie ever.
Oh,
wow.
We're talking about the new movie Reagan. It's coming out today, available this weekend. What a great thing to do over Labor Day. Howard Klausner is the screenwriter for Reagan and joins us on the Jeff and Bill show today. You can go to Reagan.movie to get tickets. There's a big button right at the top that says get tickets, and then it tells you where the tickets and the screen time all available near you, which is great. Now, Howard, I got to tell you, when I walked out of the film, here's how I felt. I went back and I said, this is what America's leaders used to be like. Like it pulled me back to that. Now, I was born the year that Reagan was put in office and he won. And so I was a young man when all this happened and barely, even aware of the world. But when I think of our current president, I think of the presidential campaign and all the division and all that stuff happening there. Holy cow, my heart was transported back to what America's leaders used to be like. And it was so inspiring. Howard?
I think the thing is this, more than anything else, one of my favorite quotes that Reagan said, and he lived it, and that is everything you just said. When you take that breath of air and just go, my God, this is what we used to be like. Reagan said about leadership is not about great leaders. It's about inspiring the people to rise to their own greatness. And he lived that. And I think more than anything else, we miss that leadership class more than anything else. Just that, and clearly you can comment on our own times. Just, you don't need my help with that. We miss that leadership class so much.
Howie Klausner, screenwriter for Reagan movie, joining Jeff and Bill live. Check it out. Find tickets near you, Reagan.movie, Reagan.movie. I do have to follow up on the Penelope Ann Miller comment that you had, how she just elevated everything. She dove into it. I would agree with you. I have not seen the film like Jeff has, didn't write it like you have. But during the trailer, at the beginning, I did see Dennis Quaid as Reagan, and Penelope Ann Miller comes in, and I'm like, oh, good God, she's Nancy. She embodies it so well, and after that, she changed my perception inside of the trailer, and now Quaid was Reagan. And you watch some of his performances, and he embodies who Reagan was. I love the short clip of the Teddy Kennedy actor, and I remember that because I'm older than Jeff is, and so I did live through the Reagan era, and there were so many things just inside the trailer that I remember. I remember going back and talking and hearing about the conversations about whether or not he would run since he was a retired governor, and then some of the major speeches. You even have a flash there for Iran-Contra. There's a number of things there that happened that were huge, and it was like a walk down memory lane for me just in the trailer. I can't wait to sit inside the theater. And what I want to know is, when you were writing it, is there a specific scene, a specific speech, doesn't even have to be Quaid, that you're really proud of? Something you were like, wow, I nailed this one. What's that moment in the movie we should be looking for that's Howie's favorite?
Well, without doing a spoiler alert, I think it's one of the sweetest moments in American history, and just to capture that in a 45-second scene was it's not only the challenge of the screenwriter, but it's just your joy. And for all of us, it was the night he was shot, and Tip O'Neill, his arch nemesis in the press and then there in the Beltway.
Yes.
Just two Irish guys. He came to see him. It was sometime between midnight and 3 a.m. quietly, and the two of them just they took each other's hand. They read the 23rd Psalm. It was just two friends, And I think to me that just embodied everything about Ronald Reagan. You know, as a leader, as a president, you can look at all those things, but he just loved people, even the people that beat the living what out of him, in the press and everything, his political adversaries. Here's two friends right there. I mean, to me, that movie, that scene for me is like, that's what it's all about.
Wow. Talking with Howie Klausner. He's the screenwriter for Reagan. Now, one of the big story arcs is Ronald Reagan's confrontation of the Soviet Union and communism. Why is it important to make that central to the film and to remind this new generation of the threat of communism?
It's coming again. I mean, it's like that beast that you kill, what is it, the Hydra? You cut off one head and then 4 more grow back. I mean, he cut off a major head of that thing. He himself, despite what history loves to say, of course it was George H.W. Bush's administration that the wall finally fell. But it was Mr. Gorbachev tear down this wall in front of the whole world. That's what did it. We're living in a time where it is rearing its ugly head again. And I never in all of my life thought we would see the rise of Marxism in the United States like we're seeing it right now. It's out there, people. Let's just stop being polite about it. And we got to kill it. We got to kill it.
Howie Klausner, screenwriter for the new hit film Reagan, out this weekend. You can go to Reagan.movie, Reagan.movie. What a great way to celebrate Labor Day this weekend. Spend some time with friends and family, seeing a movie produced by major studios in Hollywood that celebrates a conservative leader. That never happens.
Never.
You get it in this film. And when you spend money, you send a message to all the studios that conservative movies that celebrate American values are worth investing in. And let's change Hollywood by supporting this Reagan movie. Howard, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I so appreciate it. Go see it. I love your vote on that. That's what it's all about.
Man, what a great conversation. Really appreciate you joining us. Again, I saw this almost a year ago in a private screening with community leaders, and it was it was such a feel-good movie. It's one of those that it's going to bring you back to that time of Reagan and remember what America was like, what our leaders were like. It's really going to inspire you. And especially if you're a grandparent, take your grandchildren who never lived through Reagan, have no idea who he was, get a sense of who this guy was and what he delivered for America.
Yeah, if your grandchildren look at you and going, why are you so attached to America and this ideal? Why do you, and they look at it and they think that it's broken, take them to this. They'll understand what you mean. And when you talk about where America used to be, they'll get it. It's going to be a great movie.
Reagan.movie is the website. All right, we'll continue with your calls. Marty, you're up next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
back to the Jeff and Bill show. Let's go back to the phone lines. We've been talking the Kamala Harris disaster interview from my perspective. Billy disagrees. If you want the full debate, that took place during the 6 o'clock hour. But lots of people calling throughout the show to talk about it. Let's go back to Marty, Denver. You're on the Jeff and Bill show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Hey, guys. Good to be with you. Hot environment. Real quick, before we go to the debate, I would just say this. Reagan almost has this, like, unblemished folklore in political history. I would say the only little dark spot, and we're seeing it kind of get some life now, is he is the signer of the 1986 Vaccine Act. And I would just leave it there as far as the impact that we're now living in based on that piece of legislation. But Billy,
I throw Aaron Contra in there too, but that's fair.
Okay, fair enough. Exactly. So he's not necessarily a Boy Scout, but still very well done. Let's say this, Billy, after seeing last night, are you willing to go on the record and pledge your allegiance to Kamala Harris on November 5, 2024? Did that seal the deal for you? Was that enough meat on the bone, you think, for the on-the-fence guy?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think you're exactly right.
But Marty, it also didn't push me into the other camp to say that now I would then go and vote for Trump.
Perfect. This is the point then. And I think that's kind of the person I want to talk to is I'm not as turned off by her as maybe others. This is them speaking. I'm completely turned off. It's completely phony, completely fake to me.
Oh, no. Where'd you go? Marty, are you there? There you are.
I'm here.
Oh, yeah. You cut out for a sec. So, yeah, rewind rewind about 10 seconds. It's just a cell phone connection. Not a problem.
Okay. So sorry, guys. With the thought of the person on the fence that doesn't really have a for Kamala, and we're going to excuse her behavior on the economy. We're going to excuse her behavior sort of on the foreign policy, the wars, and let's just not count her. Isn't the administration, the Joe Biden administration, responsible for this border invasion? Isn't that the unforgivable act that even if we said this, but I got to go back to the border, and the fact that you changed this country forever, because Billy, the 20 million people that we welcome,
Marty, I appreciate
like 80 million.
Marty, I appreciate the facts. But to the core voter that Kamala Harris is going for, the low information voter, they don't care about facts, man. She's the gal pal. They feel good about her. So tell me how you respond to that without facts.
Well, because that guy, that woman, that person, that lost individual that we're praying for breakthrough, some kind of wisdom to hit him in the face, just go to Aurora. And you're not touched by that situation. Maybe it's not at your doorstep yet, but these people that are cheering for, mass migration, I don't think they're going to be able to sleep at night in Aurora. Now we're just looking the other way. That's what I'm talking about, the border versus like the vaccine mandate. I had a choice to say no. You're never going to give me that shot. The immigration thing, I don't get a choice in that matter. They're here, and they've changed America.
Yeah, you've got a good point, Marty. We got 20 seconds. That's why I've got to cut you off there. Not personal. I want to continue this conversation with you next week. Call us back next week when you've got a shot. Let's continue this just to be fair. I just don't want to cut you off or do anything like that.
Very busy show today.
Again,
appreciate it, Marty. Thanks so much. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
9 a.m. in Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Billy Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. You just woke up in the greatest country in history, and we're off and running on this final workday before Labor Day weekend kicks in, and we are having a blast. Coming up after the news with Blake Olson, Jeremy Levy is going to join us. Jeremy is a prolific blogger, podcast host here in the state of Colorado. I don't know a guy that covers the news in the radio industry better than Jeremy Levy, and he's going to be joining us for a discussion on Colorado radio coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. We're going to have a ton of fun. Don't miss that. Let's first check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Good morning, Jeff. 66 and sunny, expecting a high of 88 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
And we had just had pancakes and
the flip-flopper, Kamala Harris, Mrs. Vapid, on with Dana Bash of CNN. VP candidate Tim Walz was also there, sitting to her right. It's frightening to think that she's that close to being the commander-in-chief. And this radical lefty sat and basically said nothing.
You were a very staunch defender of President Biden's capacity to serve another 4 years. Right after the debate, you insisted that President Biden is extraordinarily strong. Given where we are now, do you have any regrets about what you told the American people?
No, not at all.
She doesn't like
Not at all.
She doesn't like the MAGA era either. Shocking.
New way forward and turn the page on the last decade of what I believe has been contrary to where the spirit of our country really lies.
But the last decade, of course, the last 3.5 years has been part of your administration.
I'm talking about an era.
Yeah, but it's extremely expensive to live in the U.S. today, but she feels really good about where we are economically.
The steps that you're talking about now, why haven't you done them already?
Well, first of all, we had to recover as an economy, and we have done that. I'm very proud of the work that we have done that has brought inflation down to less than 3%.
And she'll do and say anything. Now she wants to continue fracking. She wanted to shut it all down just a few years ago.
When you were in Congress, you supported the Green New Deal. And in 2019, you said, quote, "There is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking." Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, as president, I will not ban fracking.
How about the border?
During the Biden-Harris administration, there were record numbers of illegal border crossings. Why did the Biden-Harris administration wait 3.5 years to implement sweeping asylum restrictions?
A bill was crafted, which we supported, which I support, and Donald Trump got word of this bill that would have contributed to securing our border, and because he believes that it would not have helped him politically, he told his folks in Congress, don't put it forward. He killed the bill.
They could shut down the border right now. Right now. President Biden, yes, he's still alive, and her, if they wanted to. What a disgrace. Communications director for Team Trump, Tim Murtaugh, on her first interview in nearly 40 days.
It was a disaster. And when she talks about hiring Republicans or fracking or taxes or whatever it is, again, she demonstrated to Americans that you cannot believe what she said. Because she's saying, I once believed X, I now believe Y, but trust me when I say nothing has changed.
TSA expects to check a record-breaking 17 million travelers over the upcoming Labor Day weekend. Denver, San Francisco, New York, Boston, and Chicago among the top U.S. destinations. The late, great Kendrick Castillo, who gave his life for his classmates at the STEM school in Highlands Ranch, confronting the STEM shooter. Castillo will be honored again as Lucent Boulevard will be renamed Kendrick Castillo Way. John Castillo on with Jeff and Bill last hour.
That's the importance of it. We need to be reminded of that, become better people, address mental health issues, support kids who may be going off the rail and thinking about doing horrific things. Show that agape love, the ultimate love that we share for our Savior and our Lord. We need to express that to one another in our communities and make it a better place. And that's really what this means to Marie and I.
Amen. A bill that will further cut property taxes for Coloradans is headed to the governor's desk. Kristi Burton Brown from Advanced Colorado on with Jeff and Bill this morning.
First time in Colorado, one of the first times in the entire nation, conservatives were able to push what pretty much amounts to a Democrat supermajority to give tax relief in a special session.
State Democratic Senator Chris Hansen.
The change in this bill for homeowners is relatively small. It's about $80 for the average homeowner. That package was about $1.3 billion in total. This adds about another $250 million onto that.
There is some opposition. State Senator Mark Baisley respectfully disagreed because there's a third multiplier that hits all of us. Thank God for guys like Baisley looking out for us.
Remove that last multiplier. Because it's a wild swing, and it has nothing to do with how much we ought to be paying for all those services that we get. It's just hangs out there, and it swings wildly, and it makes everybody's property tax go shooting up and possibly come crashing back down. That is the underlying problem. We can fix it relatively easily if we simply stop multiplying at times people's property valuations.
It wraps up a 4-day special session in the Capitol. Denver Mayor Mike Johnston and Aurora Mayor Mike Kaufman on KUSA Thursday talking about the Venezuelan gang problem in Aurora and maybe, who knows, in Denver. Kaufman says the national attention has caused additional problems.
It's overwhelming our 911 system, our emergency call center. And so it's actually hurting our ability to respond to crime. And so I would hope people would not do that. I think we're in some sort of environment of hysteria right now over this. It's a real issue. It's being dealt with. It's isolated.
And you better nip it.
All right, then nip it. Nip it. In the back.
Am I getting through these, Tom?
Nip it. Nip it. Nip it. Bulb snacker.
Gotta nip it.
Nip it.
Hey, the CU Buffaloes kicked off the season last night.
5 seconds to go. He gets it off. It's short of the end zone. They wrestled for it, but time has expired, and the Buffaloes will win it.
31-26 over North Dakota State. Shadur Sanders, 4 touchdowns, 445 yards, 3 touchdowns to Travis Hunter, who was, man, what a night.
They just get it off into the end zone. Contact. What a catch! A miraculous, implausible, impossible catch by 12.
CSU at Texas tomorrow. We've got football all over the place. Wyoming, Arizona State, and Northern Colorado is at San Antonio against the University of Incarnate Word. I'll be there, and hopefully they can win their first game in a year. 63 in Lakewood, 64 in Lakewood, Arvada, and 66 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. I'm out of here. Have a great weekend. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
High pressure and dry air will dominate the weather here along the Front Range and across all of Colorado for what will be a really nice stretch of weather through Labor Day Monday. Highs will be upper 80s today. Highs will be middle to upper 80s all the way through Labor Day Monday. Nights will be in the 50s to near 60 degrees. Any chance of showers and thunderstorms through the weekend will be low. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Annuities can provide guaranteed payments, giving you a peace of mind. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, Billy, Okay, so on Tuesday, we're hanging out doing the live broadcast at Doug's Diner, having a ball. People are coming by. We're getting to hang out with all of our friends, elected officials. I know, the food was so good.
And that homemade jam.
By the way, swing by this weekend to Doug's Diner and you'll treat yourself.
Yeah, and the best
treat
thing
yourself,
is
they say.
The money that you spend there at Doug's Diner, because they locally source all the ingredients, it stays in Colorado.
Yeah.
So the money that you plop down on the table and say thanks, they're going to spend that money with ranchers and farmers here in Colorado. So yeah, what you do there helps everybody else.
So I'm just hanging out, and apparently I met a legend.
Yes, you did.
Here at 710 KNUS, because Jeremy Levy comes up to me and we start talking about radio. This guy loves radio. He blogs about radio. He covers all things radio in the state of Colorado on this blog, which is coloradoradioblog.wordpress.com. And I'm talking to Mark Crowley and everybody afterwards. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is the first time you met Jeremy? I'm like, yeah, it's the first time I met Jeremy. Let's have him into the studio to talk because he's a radio expert on the state of Colorado, covering everything. Jeremy Levy, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Thank you very much, Jeff and Bill. It is a pleasure to be with you today.
So you seem to really get into radio. Tell us about your passion for this.
It all started back in 1996. I tuned in to a talk radio show, the Mike Boyle Restaurant Show, back in 1996, and that's where my love of radio first started.
Mike Boyle, who does the radio show every Saturday here on the program on 710 KNUS and goes and visits restaurants and all that. Why'd you like Mike so much?
He was very energetic and he really knew about restaurants to go to. He seemed very knowledgeable.
But you didn't just stay there. You cover everything from changes happening at KYGO to the Fox to Alice. You write about KNUS. So that inspired you. Mike Boyle inspired you to get into radio, but then you seem to like to cover all aspects of it, Jeremy.
Yes, my blog started back in 2015 or 14, and I really listen to all radio stations. I really pay attention to what radio stations are doing.
And why is that? What is it about radio that connects with you?
Because I am totally blind, and radio has been a real passion of mine ever since I was 8 years old, and it's really fun for me to listen to different stations. And
so when they talk, for instance, on radio, do you listen to music or is it primarily talk radio that you like?
It's primarily talk radio.
And do you feel a connection with the host? Is there? Do you feel like you're talking to a friend?
I really do feel that connection with the host because the connection is really important to me because they're like my friends, and they really are my friends. And
I love to hear that. You know, sitting exactly where you're sitting was my mom about a month ago, who owned radio stations all throughout Texas and started in radio, did sales in radio. And she said, she had a great line that I think is 100% true, is that people build a friendship with the host through talk radio. You really feel like you have a connection with them. It's a very personal medium. You know, it's not just kind of television, all this stuff. You really feel like you connect with people. And it sounds like you would agree with that.
Yes, I really do. I mean, when I meet different hosts, I love developing that connection.
Great. Well, it felt like you were a friend of the station when you came to our live broadcast on Tuesday. Why'd you decide to come down to Doug's Diner? Do you go to restaurants with Mike Boyle and do that regularly?
Yes, a lot of burger restaurants. I am his official hamburger taster and reporter for the Mike Boyle Restaurant Show. So I go to a lot of the burger events that he has.
That's awesome. I
now,
love
Jeremy,
it too.
Go ahead. Got to use your knowledge there for us. If you had to make a recommendation to the Jeff and Bill audience for Labor Day weekend, where should they go get a burger?
They should go to the Tailgate Restaurant in Parker. They have a really good hamburger and really good crispy French fries.
Oh, yeah, I got to give a shout out on the fries. The fries are important because you pick them up and they go all limp and go, bleh, there's nothing there. There's got to be a little bit of a snap in those fries.
Yes, that is correct. I didn't quite hear what he said.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just talking about the fries, Jeremy. I apologize. I can get a little loud in people's ears sometimes.
No, I think that's where I'm going to go for lunch. So, Jeremy, were you born blind or did you develop blindness later in life?
I was born totally blind.
And has radio, someone texted here, they said, it sounds like radio opened the world up for you.
It really did, yes. It really opened a world for me.
Now, you have your own podcast as well, and I want to give people a chance. It's called Jeremy's Journey, LLC.com. Jeremy's Journey. You got a podcast there. Tell people what you do on your podcast.
I interview different musicians with disabilities. I also talk about some of my adventures throughout my life. And it really is to inspire people about what is possible for the blind or if you're sighted.
Wow. So you get to go out and do this stuff. So let's talk about some of it. You get to go out and do like visiting the Denver Zoo, for instance, or you went to Hawaii. You describe all this from your perspective as a young blind person.
Yes, that is correct.
And help people understand what you experience. So, for instance, so what'd you do at the Denver Zoo?
I got to feed the giraffes. I also got to touch what a penguin feels like. And I also got...
Tell me what a penguin feels. I've never touched a penguin. Tell me what a penguin feels like.
A penguin feels... They have two different levels of feathers, and one of them feels kind of rough and not very soft, but the second level feels very, very smooth and very soft. And that they were explaining to me that that's because of when they go in the water, one level of their feathers is so that they don't get the second level of the feathers wet. It's just the first level that gets...
Really? So the other one keeps them warm on the inside, that type of thing, doesn't get wet, and then the outside's a little bit slipperier so they can swim through the water.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's very cool. So you got to experience that. Did you feed a giraffe while you were at the zoo?
Yes, I did.
Did you feel its tongue?
Yes, I did. It felt very sticky.
Really?
Sticky? I wouldn't have guessed that.
I wouldn't have guessed that either. I thought it would have been kind of like gooey or something.
Now, Jeremy, recently with some of your adventures, what has been your favorite? What's something you've really enjoyed doing lately?
Probably the Hawaii adventures. I really enjoyed surfing while I was in Hawaii. And
hold on, you went surfing and you're blind?
yes,
How'd you do
with
that?
Access Surf. It's a company out of Oahu, and someone is on the board with me.
Wow. So tell me what the feeling
what
was
was it
like.
like?
Were you scared at all?
No, it felt very free for me. I felt like I was free.
Oh, that's amazing. What have been some of your other great adventures over the last couple of years you've really enjoyed? Because I can't believe you went surfing. That is not only a testament to your bravery, but also the support of your parents and the accessibility that we have for so many people with disabilities. What else has been fun for you? What's been a real memorable experience?
I play the piano as well. Some of those songs you can hear on my website as well. And the Denver Zoo was really a fun experience as well.
Now, let's talk piano for a second. What style of music do you like to play?
I play all different kinds. I play some jazz, some classical, some oldies. But my favorite kind to play is Disney.
Oh, okay. So what's your go-to song? You know, the family's gathered. It's the holiday. You got a piano in front of you. What's the song you play?
It's a Small World or Can You Feel the Love Tonight?
You can do Can You Feel the Love? Oh, man, nice job. That's a hard song. That's difficult. That's nice chord progression.
And that's the song that the ladies swoon after, too. Talking with Jeremy Levy. He's a friend of the program. We ran into him at one of our live broadcasts. And here's what I love about working at this station, man. We are building with this show and with with what Mike Boyles does and Peter and all that stuff. You build a good family. And to have Jeremy in to talk about his experience, what he's building with his podcast, his blog, covering radio. This isn't just news where we go and tell you, what's happening in the world, and then you go on about your life. We are building something here through these live broadcasts, through the Saturday and Sunday shows where people are really involved, and you're building a family and a lot of friendship here. So, Jeremy, why is it important for you to get out there to inspire other people with disabilities and challenges to seek adventure?
Like I said, I really enjoy inspiring people, both sighted and non-sighted, because there are a lot of great adventures out there, and I want people to experience mine and have their own adventures as well.
But Jeremy, if someone's blind and they're scared and nervous, like getting on a surfboard or go visiting the Denver Zoo, what's your message to them?
I would recommend to them that they try a lot of different things, because you never know what you may like or not like.
It's true. And you have to be brave, right?
Yes.
Now, Jeremy, what was that one adventure where you did have butterflies? You were a little scared, because it seems to me that you're just going to do the Evel Knievel thing. You're strapping on the helmet and you're like, shoot me out of the cannon. Let's go, Dad. Let's go, Mom. What was that adventure that was
probably
scared?
the surfing. When
Really?
I first started that, I was a little bit nervous to try it, but I had been hearing about surfing for a long time. But when I first went there, it was really a really fun experience.
Now, Jeremy, I know that there are a lot of people that throughout today and this weekend are going to have that fear. They're going to be afraid of something. How did you get through your fear of surfing? What is it that you tapped into that said, let's go?
I talked about my fears with my mom and dad, and with the people that I was doing the activity with. And they were very encouraging to me, saying that you can do whatever you put your mind to.
You really can. You absolutely can. So my senior homecoming date was a friend of mine from the cross country team who had gone through an accident when her sophomore year. Took a pole through the windshield of the car, hit her in the face, put her in the hospital for like weeks, months as she recovered. So that was her sophomore year, totally blinded as a result of that accident, and then ran cross country. They even did a documentary about her. Ran cross country races, and I would pace her. So you would run along and you'd hold a little rope and you just kind of tell her, if there's stuff that she's step over, that type of thing, but kind of help her. I've always found it amazing how you can live a totally full life, experiencing things like cross-country races. This is not a track. This is like there are rocks in the road. You need to go around type of thing. To Jeremy's point, going surfing in Hawaii.
Yeah.
All while being totally blind. It's just amazing to me.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jeremy, you're totally inspirational, man.
That's what I really try and be to people, is an inspiration.
Yeah, because again, Jeremy, there are people out there that are struggling today, and they're going to wander into a Labor Day weekend, and there's something that they've been afraid of. There's some sort of thing's been holding them back, and you're a testament to just breaking through all of those barriers. We appreciate you here on the Jeff and Bill Show, and I know that, here we'd say, what's your favorite radio show in the morning? And you would say Jeff and Bill, and that would be silly. We don't want to do that. But what I want to ask you is about radio. I want you to talk about why you think radio is special, because you focus on it. Radio is a very unique medium, but when you hear a radio show, what do you listen for? What do you find that's special? How do those radio shows that you love stand out?
I listen for the host, and I don't really like a lot of the political shows. Sometimes politics can kind of get a little bit frustrating to listen
Believe
to.
me, I feel the same way, Jeremy.
What was the question again?
What do you find inspiring about radio? How do you connect? What are you looking for? So when you turn it on, you find a host, you find a show, and you're like, oh, this is something I like because the host, the radio show, is doing what? How does it connect with you?
They sometimes talk about topics that interest me, or sometimes it's a guest that interests me. Sometimes it's an author, or sometimes it's just the energeticness of the host that I really enjoy listening to.
Now,
does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. We got text messages from fans coming in. One person would like to know how old you are, Jeremy.
I am 36 years old, going to be 37 on September 11th.
Really? That was your birthday?
Wow.
September 11th. Wow.
It's an important day.
That is an important day. Well, we want to continue this conversation because when we come back, you brought some guests with you. We'll get a little bit of background on them as well. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Man, Jeremy, you get a lot of text messages here. So during Doug's Diner, the live broadcast we did on Tuesday, which we invite everybody to come out to. So you end up with this like kind of big family friends festival. And it's like Cheers. People walk in and it's, hey, and then people came up and introduced me to Jeremy Levy, who I guess is pretty famous around the 710 KNUS office. And I'm brand new here. So Jeremy and I had a great conversation. I said, Jeremy, come on the show. Artist wrote, I remember seeing Jeremy with his dad. Great interview and an example of what can be accomplished when the opportunity is offered. God bless him and his family. You got people texting in here. One of the best interviews coming from Luis. They love hearing you, Jeremy. That is great.
Thank you very much.
Excited. So Jeremy is a kind of a radio connoisseur. He writes all about it on his blog, which is coloradoradioblog.wordpress.com. He's got his own podcast, Born Blind. That ain't stopping him. He's gone surfing. Now, I was talking to your mom and your dad here, and they say you're a skier as well, which that just blows my mind, buddy. I can't imagine that.
I can see, and I don't ski well.
Well,
yes,
there's trees.
I ski up at Winter Park in the blind ski program there from the National Sports Center for the Disabled, and they really do have a wonderful program up there.
That is very cool. Okay, so you got to introduce us to who you brought with you. You got groupies that come with you to an interview. Who are they?
Yes, they are my mom, Audrey, and my dad, Ira.
That's great. And tell us a little bit about them.
And they are my parents. They go with me to a lot of my activities. In fact, after we are finished today, we are going down to the Colorado Springs to go and check out a tandem bike.
Wow.
Bike riding.
You guys might go bike riding together.
A recumbent tandem.
Yeah. Well, that sounds very cool. Now, in between the commercial breaks, you and Billy started talking about music.
Yes.
And your dad mentioned that you have perfect pitch.
Yes, I do.
So tell people what that means.
Perfect pitch means if someone plays a note on the piano, or if someone plays a song, I can tell what key it's in. The minor keys, I still have a little bit of trouble with telling because I'm not quite used to minor keys. Minor keys kind of remind me of kind of sad things, so I don't really like the minor keys a lot.
I get that. I definitely get that. Bill, you guys were talking a little bit about a piece he was even composing too, right?
Yeah, but he was talking about the challenges of doing Elton John's Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, because there are some very complicated key changes, and now he's working through classical. And Jeremy, talk to us about the difficulties with classical because of the number of instruments and learning those songs.
Sometimes the chords are a little bit more of a challenge with classical music, and sometimes the rhythms can be a little bit of a trouble as well. Now, does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally does. Now, what about when, let's say, you step up to a piano and it's a little off key, or you hear someone singing and they're off key? Since you have perfect pitch, how difficult is that for you? Because you can hear it be out of tune.
With the piano, it's a little more of a challenge. I haven't quite noticed it with people singing, but when a piano is out of tune, that's a little bit of a more of a challenge for me.
Yeah, because you feel like you're playing the wrong notes. You know the notes are right where they should be on the keyboard, but when you play them, they sound wrong, correct?
Yes.
My entire life's out of tune. So, I'm not sure you'd want to hang out with me too much. We're getting another text message here that you are delightful. Jeremy.
Thank you very much.
That comes from 2056. They think you are great. If you want to text in a message to Jeremy, 720-892-6757. That's 720-892-6757. Now, Jeremy, it sounds like your parents have been a big part of your success. Here you are. You faced a pretty big challenge at the start of your life, but you are skiing, you are surfing, you have your own blog, you have your own podcast, you're interviewing experts at the Denver Zoo, all this stuff out there. Holy cow, you're not stopped at all. There's nothing holding you back. How important were your parents to that?
They are very important to me. They have really supported me in a lot of things that I have done and accomplished, and they are really a big support to me.
It sounds like it. All right, so we've got a lot of good listeners here, people that have lots of access to lots of things. Now, Jeremy, you could ask for anything. Give me 3 things you'd like to do. Would you like to go up in a plane? Would you like to go to a rodeo? What are 3 things that our listeners could help you and your podcast achieve?
Probably that's a pretty difficult question because I do have a lot, but I would really encourage people to check out my blog and podcast and give me some really good comments and really help my podcast and blog to grow. If people have suggestions about people I should interview, like musicians with disabilities, that would be helpful as well.
I think so. Now, your podcast is Jeremy's Journey, LLC.com, and your blog is Colorado Radio Blog, coloradoradioblog.wordpress.com if you want to go read all those updates. Now, go ahead.
And my blog is also on the website as well for people to check out
wonderful.
as well.
Yeah, you're doing a lot of writing and a lot of radio recording. Do your parents help you with the production of the blog and the radio show as well?
Yes, my dad is my producer for the podcast, and he helps edit the blogs as well.
That's great. Well, Jeremy, you have been delightful to chat with. Somebody did text now. Oh, go ahead.
One more question, Jeremy. I want to ask you about this. Do you ever go to see live music being performed? Ever go to concerts?
Sometimes I do if they're not too loud. Sometimes live music can be a little bit loud, and I don't really like rock bands or
What's the last show you went to live that you really enjoyed musically?
Musically, that's been a little bit of a while ago. I would have to say there was a Hawaiian artist named Leilani Rivera Bond. We saw her in Kauai at the hotel we were staying at. But as far as a show, I went to see a show put on by Family, PHAMILY.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I know them.
They have people with disabilities in their show, and that was fun to go and see as well.
That is awesome to hear. Again, Jeremy Levy, his blog, coloradoradioblog.wordpress.com. He's literally got the insight on all the news happening with radio stations across the spectrum, from sports to country to classic rock to conservative talk to the restaurant shows. He's a good friend of Mike Boyle. He's the official burger tester for Mike Boyle and his show. We met at Doug's Diner on Tuesday, and the whole reason I wanted to have you here, Jeremy, is to convey to our listeners that this show is a family. The station is a family. We're building friendships. We're doing great work in the community, and we're going to honor those that are doing great work like Jeremy, inspiring others to put aside the challenges they may have. Here's a guy that faced blindness from birth, skiing, surfing. He's got his own radio show. He's got his own blog. He is making it happen. He's not letting it hold back. That is inspiration to everybody to hear, especially going into this Labor Day weekend. Jeremy, man, I'm so proud of you. Thank you so much for taking time to be on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Thank you very much.
And we'll continue to check in with him.
Yes.
So, go and visit his blog.
That would be wonderful.
Absolutely. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
was a fantastic interview. Text message here, 5810. Jeremy is so inspirational.
Oh, yes.
You can get a copy of this interview on our podcast, which will be up right afterwards if you want to listen to that. And look, it's just part of what we're building here.
Yeah, it is. It's part of the
Friendship
community.
and community.
Yes, that's exactly it. And speaking of building, we're building another segment into the show. Longtime listeners here at 710 KNUS will be familiar with the work of Jeff Hildebrand. He does part-time news here, but also has a history on the Western Channel. Has the most amazing stories about connecting with those classic cowboys and movie actors and actresses. And just an incredibly creative and great individual. And as we walk into Labor Day, Jeff is going to start joining us. Hopefully, we're going to get him live next week, but he's going to be writing poetry for us. He's going to be the poet laureate of the Jeff and Bill Show, and he is going to share special messages with us. This week, his poem is titled God Bless America by Jeff Hildebrand.
A lot these days. With so many people saying it, why are there delays in the blessings that we're seeking? Why does God ignore all our efforts to persuade him? Could it be we're asking for God to bless our efforts, but not get in the way of all the faithless actions that continue every day? When someone wants to get your vote or just hear you applaud, they flash a semi-sincere smile and raise their hand to God to make you think they're serious. I always get the feeling their prideful pleas for plenty don't make it past the ceiling. See, asking God for blessings in these very trying days and U-turns from wicked ways. Check out 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 14 to learn what God requires from us so blessings can be seen. Now bow your head, bend your knee, and seek his holy face. Then God will bless America and show us all his grace.
God Bless America by Poet Laureate of the Jeff and Bill Show, Jeff Hildebrand.
Start your morning like
Does
that.
It? Yeah.
Holy cow.
I know. That's how good he is. And he's going to be sharing new stuff with us each and every week.
Bill, you brought that here, didn't you?
That's something Jeff and I talked about.
So
off there.
all those people think you're some godless progressive.
No, not at all. I am a fractured Catholic. I am broken in more ways than most, but my faith is strong, and he forgives me each and every day because I break all the time, and I need him in my life. I do desperately. So,
well, Bill, that was fantastic. Thank you for bringing that to the program. I'm looking forward to Jeff being a regular here. We'll put those up on all the social media so you can share those. We should be sharing those. Make sure and send them to your grandchildren as well.
Yes.
Jacqueline saying amen. Amen on the text message there.
Amen.
Hey, it's been an absolutely fantastic show. If you missed any of it, Billy and I got into the debate about the Tim Walz.
What were you doing? Where were you? Come on.
Kamala Harris interview that, in my opinion, was a low energy word salad with no specifics.
Yeah,
but
I think she's just a generic Democrat, and that may be just enough to win. If she just doesn't adopt any solid policy positions, and she just is
a Venn diagram there between what I said and you said.
I think you're right, my friend. I think you're absolutely right.
So 6 o'clock hour, we covered that. In the 7 o'clock hour, Kristi Burton Brown joined us. She was part central to that property tax negotiation that took place down at the state capitol. Is going to directly affect your bottom line. She joined us in the 7 o'clock hour to give an update. And Mark Baisley, the lone Republican standing against it, joined us right after to give us his perspective. You're not going to find that debate, that discussion anywhere else. Took place right here on 710 KNUS during the 7 o'clock hour. 8 o'clock hour, very powerful 2 interviews. One with John Maria Castillo about the renaming of Lucent Boulevard after Kendrick Castillo, the great hero of Colorado. He was, they were his parents. And so they joined us. And then we talked with the screenwriter for Reagan. By the way, I bought my tickets. Go see that great movie this weekend. And then Jeremy Levy joining us. Man, what a show.
This was so much fun to share with you today. This is great.
I hope you all have a wonderful Labor Day weekend. Cal Thomas is next, followed by Charlie Kirk. Stick around. You've been listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Have a great weekend and try to stay out of trouble.